Hello, everyone, and welcome in to Smashbox TV Podcast 446. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, alongside Johnny V.
Getting closer to retirement, Terry.
Gosh, every week. And interestingly enough, today, now that I've been home from Bend for all of, 20-some hours, I thought to myself, I could use a little bit of a break. I'm not one, certainly Nate and Val and I talked about it this weekend, I'm not one to necessarily take a vacation. I wouldn't mind if things slowed down, and thankfully they're going to. I don't have...
The next few weeks, you've got, you're not involved with the Open at Austin.
I am not, but then I go to back-to-back events in Florida, and then after that, I think I run a tournament, and then the weekend after that, we have back-to-back events, the Champions Cup along with the Jonesboro Open, which means back-to-back weekends out in Bend, Oregon. So, yeah, it's right back at it.
You're saying you need a little vacation.
I don't know vacation. I'm just ready for things to slow down, but yet I literally created a to-do list because I have so many things I want to take care of and I think I forgot of something that's actually time-sensitive for today yet, so I may do that here and zone out on you for a minute. But
no, that's fine. That's totally fine. Terry, last week we talked real quickly about my new blender.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
And really mixed it up.
We mixed it up. I got some messages from people asking the model number that they've been looking for a blender.
Bro, give out the affiliate code.
I don't have an affiliate code. But I did promise something last week,
yes,
Terry.
Yes, you did. Make it happen. Uh-oh. All right. Uh-oh. Pulling from behind the curtain.
From behind the curtain.
Uh-oh. I am ready. I am ready.
I made Terry Miller a malt.
Oh, that's a pretty... I'm not one to look at gift horse in the mouth, but...
It's a small malt.
I've done shots off of you, I think, that are bigger than... Wait, that sounds weird.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Thank you.
I could have given you the whole thing, but I split it. So I give you a little malt. Cheers to the malt.
We'll see
it's a chocolate malt.
We'll see how
I literally made it moments ago, which is why we're a couple seconds late.
Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
I added extra malt mix because I know you love the malt mix, Terry.
It'll do. Thank you.
You're welcome, Terry.
I'm going to go blend up mine. Once we're done with the show at 2 or 3 a.m., then I'll go mix up some more stuff in your house.
Just go blend it.
Start that blender up.
Those blenders are loud.
Well, speaking of blenders, someone who came out of the Waco Beast blender perfectly intact this weekend by getting it done on the final round. Of course, he had 2 great rounds to get him even in contention, but then got all the way through on Sunday in dramatic fashion, doing what Waco is supposed to do, and then some. Our champion from the Waco Annual Charity Open, none other than Kyle Klein.
Hello, everybody.
Kyle, do you have a malt?
Do you have a malt, Kyle?
I do not.
Well, so your winning stopped 2 days ago then. That's what you're telling us. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we might as well ask right away.
Yeah.
Are you a malt guy or a shake guy?
I can't recall if I've even ever had a malt.
Kyle, many things, my young man.
So young.
Well,
next time you go to like an ice cream place or like a fast food joint on the road and you're just like, all right, we're going to settle for something, order a malt instead of a shake. You'll thank us.
Right.
To be fair, though, sometimes you'll be disappointed because a lot of times you'll go into places and they won't offer a malt.
That's true.
They just have shakes.
That's true.
And they don't have the malt mix. But that's for another podcast on another day. So...
Again, excuse my ignorance. What's the difference between a malt and a shake?
No, it's okay.
The malt has an extra,
powder.
Usually a powder they put into it that changes the flavor just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will follow up then and ask, because this is the hard-hitting questions we do here on Smashbox. What was the dinner and celebratory dinner or food or dessert of choice that you had on Sunday night or Monday? What was the treat?
Sunday, I guess. I think me and some friends, we went to Cheddar's. There's Cheddar's everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if they're everywhere, but
okay.
We've seen them.
Cheddar's are good.
Yeah.
Cheddar's are
5
good.
or 6 of us were just out. I got a good steak. It was pretty good.
Is there an obligation or an odd sense of hey, bro, you just won $7,500 plus a scooter, plus a sweet trophy, plus some specially dropped release discs? Is that dinner then assumed to be on you or not necessarily? Or does everybody still take care of themselves?
More than likely, most of the time it's kind of like, you just won. You got this, right?
What- to be fair, it's a long-standing tradition amongst our group. Winner buys dinner.
Yeah.
That's always, but usually
Yeah.
we're not going to Cheddar's and getting malts. We were kind of hitting like Burger King or fast food on the way home
Yeah.
from whatever tournament you were at.
Because
So
we were winning $300,
Yeah, 'cause
not
the-
$7,500.
yeah, when we won, it was like, oh, cool, you won three. So, scales are relative.
All right. So, of course, congratulations. And I was talking to you just
Thank
before
you.
we jumped on live that now there's so many more obligations. Of course, we've been around as old as we are. We've been around a long time. But now you're getting hit up probably constantly for the last few days to join a lot of podcasts, maybe a few articles. Does that overwhelm you at all?
I mean, yes and no. Just there, I guess, I don't know. Ever since there's been a lot of stuff going on, just trying to figure out and whatnot like that. But also, I see it as a good opportunity to kind of just get myself out there and do something I haven't done much. So,
Yeah, and I think about you're not overly you don't overpost by any means. Nobody's ever like, oh man, I'm going to mute Kyle. He posts way too much on social media. Nobody would say that. So just in general, do you consider yourself somewhat of an introverted person?
I definitely think so. I just kind of been that way my whole life.
Okay.
But I'm working on it. I'm working on getting myself out there.
I mean, a lot of, in general, disc golfers aren't necessarily naturally outward spoken. We've seen it coming in. Ricky was the same way when he first came on the scene. He wasn't comfortable in front of cameras. He didn't necessarily want to be in front of cameras. It's something he grew to be much better at, and actually I think enjoy at some point when he started putting out his own videos and things of that nature. So I don't necessarily think there's anything to be ashamed
there's nothing
of.
wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with it.
Just your style.
Everyone's different. Some people are natural, like Simon. I think Simon was born with a camera in his hand.
Yeah.
So
As weird as that is.
Probably.
So what have you been? Let's talk a little bit about what have you been preoccupied with the last few days? How much travel, media stuff, practice? What's been preoccupying for the last day and a half?
Let's see. Yesterday we were still in Temple. That's not too far from here. We were getting Cynthia and I were upgrading our phones, so we spent pretty much all day, unfortunately, doing that. Which shouldn't take 7 hours, but
No.
it somehow did. It somehow did. So most of our day was occupied with that. That's pretty much it, honestly. When we did that yesterday, then this morning drove here, got a practice round in, and then we've just been here.
So before we get into kind of recapping the weekend, talk to us a little bit about your practice round. This is a new course on the tour. I'm not personally working it, nor is Johnny, so we don't know it intimately. What are some of your initial thoughts? Give us your take on the brand new course that we're going to see this weekend.
It's let's see, it's interesting. I don't know if a lot of people love it. Some people might. I personally am not a massive fan of it, just because it wasn't like beta tested by any other like pros before it got put out, and there wasn't like any other tournaments, or at least to my knowledge. So it's like a fresh thing that everyone's seeing for the first time, and I don't know if it's exactly what I don't know if it's gonna do exactly what the course designers intended for it to do. But I'm not sure. I only have one round.
yeah, and for those that haven't or maybe haven't looked at the caddy guide, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of OB out here. It's a golf course.
Yeah.
A lot of fairways that are lined to OB. Usually one side is, a string OB. The other side is kind of a woods OB on a lot of holes. It's not the longest course in the world. It's only about 8750 or something along there. So right around what Waco is. But the short holes, you're not carving lines in fairways, but there's quite a few gaps. There's a few double mandos. There's you have to hit some lines. A lot of 350-foot shots, and then the longer ones, the further you go, it seems like the more they're trying to penalize you. And with OB, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I definitely think so. A lot of holes are definitely like two specific shot par fours, where it's not like most golf courses where you can throw it anywhere and just get up and down. It's like they want you to be in this specific spot and throw this shot to get to to get to any pin.
I know this is kind of a big question in the sense that you only have seen it once, but what do you think will be hot scores when it's all said and done, whether it's per round or total? What do you kind of just assume it's going to take to win out there?
I mean, if it's windy, if the wind picks up at all with how much OB and how long it is, I feel like a hot like score for one round will be like five,
Wow.
6, somewhere in there. Yeah, there's just if it gets wind like it wasn't that windy today, but I can see it getting windy and it's just going to be tough. So I think I shot 4 today blind, which I wasn't too mad at, but I definitely didn't play great.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definite birdie holes that you have to get out there, the 350-foot shots. And then you just, on some of the par fours, you just have to take a par almost. I mean, there are birdie opportunities if you hit it right, but the the greens are lined by OB and the fairways are lined by OB, so you really need to be on your game. And so he's right. Any wind is going to push you left or right. And it's a golf course, so things could get skippy. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
What's kind of the situation in terms of it being a golf course? Is it an active golf course where there were some golfers out there on a different half of the course today, or is this no longer an in-use golf course? What's kind of the situation? Do you know?
Well, I think it's still an active golf course. I mean, I think there was like some kids class or something out there because there was a bunch of kids out there on the driving range today. I think it was a clinic or a class or something. But
okay.
They weren't in the way, but they were out there.
Sure. And I don't know how in depth you guys got over it, but is there a quick take that Cynthia had from the FPO perspective when she played out there today, or assuming she played out there today?
She did. Not that nothing that really I couldn't see. It was kind of the same thing. It was just like the flow is like a little strange. Like some of the walks to the holes are like through around other holes, and like long walks to next holes, and the flow is just a little weird.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I mean, of course, excited to see what it's going to look like this weekend. A brand new course on the tour. Obviously, a ton of money needs to be added, a huge collaboration with all of the people, all the sponsors, everything else in order to even make it happen. Now, let's backtrack just a little bit into last weekend's event at Waco. You know, more than ever, it feels like the conversation is and was, we love Waco because anything is possible. You won off the chase card. You shot the incredible last round. And of course it was very tight, but how would you describe that event? If you were kind of explaining to someone that doesn't know much about the tournament scene, how would you break down Waco?
I feel like it's a pretty classic, like a 9 holes wood, 9 holes in the open. You gotta have all types of shots. Like you can't really just be good at one or the other. And it definitely feels more of a sprint than an endurance tournament.
Okay, and again, being the shortest course on the year on the MPO side for the entire year, does it feel short to you? I mean, knowing there's a 213 footer and a couple that are 267 or 297, does it feel short to you?
It definitely feels short. Like going to there, especially from Vegas, where like after a round at Vegas, I was like, I need a nap. I'm tired. Then after one round at Waco, it's like you get done, you're like, it wasn't too bad. Like it's again not long, it's not super demanding, demandingly like long and filled with distance. But
so knowing that you came from Michigan disc golf, Wyoming, Grand Rapids area, I guess I would think of Waco as being a little bit more like you'd find in Michigan. I mean, with the mix of woods and then,
park golf.
Yeah, some park golf and such. Do you think we should have more of that style, or call it Waco style, or even just park golf, or what you're used to? But do you feel like we should have more of that style, or do you like the idea of some of these big monster courses, whether it's OTB or Portland or Las Vegas?
Me personally, I mean, I grew up on the park style courses, so that's kind of what I'm used to. That's what I feel comfortable on. So personally, I like more of like the park style, like Idlewild or Waco or even Northwood, like something like that's fun for me. And I guess I don't love the golf courses and the just the long open bomber roller, throw as far as you can 5 times on a hole type courses.
Yeah, I think I heard a lot of sentiment about that at Waco. I feel like as Waco has matured over the last few years, the sentiment has kind of swung in Waco's favor. I don't think it was necessarily everyone's favorite course years ago on the Pro Tour, but now that we've seen a lot of other style of courses, and like Kyle says, moving out to a lot of golf style courses, people are starting to look at Waco a little differently. I think they're starting to enjoy the fact that, like you said, it's a sprint. You need to shoot, 310 downs on average just, to win, if not better, depending on the wind. And it's people really like the excitement that Waco brings, that usually going into the last 3 holes, there's 2 or 3 people always in contention.
So I guess the follow-up to all of that would be, is there any hole or holes if they said, hey, you know what, Kyle, you're the champion. You slayed our course, you slayed the beast, and we are allowing you to change up to 3 holes on this course. This is a scenario I've just literally made up. But you're allowed to change any 3 holes on this course, whether it's where a tee or pin, fairway, whatever. Any changes that you'd make out there? Any particular hole where you're like, I'd love to do this instead?
The first one on the top of my mind is hole 15. You take that tee pad, you can move it back 50 feet and make like that fenced in rail area, make that hazard row B and call it a par 4. Like people can still get aggressive and go for a 2, or you can play a chip, easy birdie. But personally, I don't like that hole as a par 3 just because most of the time it's going to be a headwind and it's just not, you're not birdieing that hole.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't think we saw a single 2 on the weekend. I think, unless someone got it in the tailwind round.
Did James Conrad had a really good chance at it? I think it was maybe the second round. I don't know if he actually got it though. And
we'll confirm.
We'll confirm a second. I think it's a really good FPO hole the way it is. But you're right, for the MPO players, I don't think it suits you guys. It's just either a little too far, or
it's a weird tweener hole.
It is.
Yeah, and not shocking to see who did get the pair of 2s, or there were 2 2s on it during. They didn't wear 2 2s, but they were wearing. They got 2s on Saturday on our second round. Ezra Robinson, shocker, and Aaron Gossage.
Okay, it was
so
okay.
Right, yeah. So you're right. There was only 2 of them throughout the entire weekend. Of course, that's largely dependent on the wind. Calvin Heimberg had a look at it from 25 or 28 feet, didn't convert, so he actually did have a look at it. Do you feel like, let's just say, as you just mentioned, back it up 50 feet, could somebody still get it there for the Eagle, or no?
I think so. I mean, it sits what, 550? Is it 5 somewhere around there?
It is
550, 560.
You're really checking our math here. It is 558 currently. So let's just call it an even 600. Okay. You back it up, call it an even 600.
I definitely think with a tailwind, you could still attack for eagle if you needed to, like coming down the stretch. Like a perfect situation would have been last weekend. If there's a good tailwind, I think if someone needed to, they could.
Okay. So hole 15 is one you would alter slightly, and I don't think your idea or suggestion by any means is crazy. I think a lot of people recognize that as a really difficult par 3, and there could be some changes to it. I mean, Nate Doss accidentally already called that area OB anyway, so during one of the, but honestly, and I told him after the fact, he felt really bad that he didn't know that or he didn't remember that. Mm-hmm. I said, it looks like it would be a natural, like an obvious OB, like when you're on the course and you're talking about players of this level, to see that and be like, oh yeah, inside those stanchions are OB, like nobody would be like, well, that's crazy.
And like you said,
it wouldn't be.
What he noticed was a lot of players throwing before it, landing early or not going for it. So, and you had a really, speaking of 15, you had a really fortunate break on that hole, didn't you? Did you go back and watch that? Because
what happened? For sure.
To keep it simple, there was a lot of headwind. I threw my most overstable disc, and it still turned over. And I was like, dang it, that's a 4 or 5, and I'm out pretty much. And then I got the green flag, and I didn't know how, and I went up there, and it was a meter in bounds. So I didn't know exactly how. It just came back right at the perfect time and just went, I don't know how to put that, but right under the fence. Yeah, just skipped right under it.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. We saw it on the replay and the broadcast a little bit. It was hard to see, but you could see it. I think it kicked off one of those brick pillars, the pillars that the fence is connected to, and kind of kicked back in even further. because everyone was talking online and even the broadcast that it didn't feel like anybody wanted to win this, so to speak, because it was coming down to the end. You were seeing all the headwind. A lot of people were running into OB here or there, and nobody could seem to really run away with it. Not necessarily nobody wanted to win, but nobody was running away with it. And then when you're right, when you threw it in there, I thought, I think that's it for Kyle. And then, but ultimately it kicked in. You got to keep going. It was a good, fortunate kick for you, and you were able to, complete out the rest of the round with what you went birdie.
I think so. Yeah, birdie the last 3.
It's a pretty solid finish.
Yeah, that's what it took. Were you watching? Talk about looking at your phone or the scores or whatever, or maybe with Cynthia or not. But were you watching what was going on and paying attention to the other cards?
Yeah. I definitely. I first checked scores. I think like after hole 9, just to see where I'm at. I do that most rounds, where it's like halfway through, I'll just check what's happening, and then I think after that, it was every 2 or 3 holes, just to keep myself updated, so I didn't play safe or do something dumb when I didn't need to.
So talk us through 18, the contemplation or not, exactly what you were trying to accomplish. Like, walk us through pretty much every step of 18 for you. What was going on?
So, before even the hole, I was able to watch Adam putt on 17. Luckily they had that timing right. So, and I saw that he missed that putt, and that didn't change anything for me. Because my whole game plan the whole weekend was just to go for it and land safe on the other side somewhere. But with the tail end, I noticed there was something slightly overstable. Just throw it high and spiky, and it's not going to get too away from you, hopefully. So, I pretty much executed exactly what I wanted to.
Well, not a lot of people can throw high and spiky and then get to a 468-foot target, so to speak, or in your case, 448 maybe. So at any point when you had released it, were you nervous about it not clearing? Because that's the I don't want to say the only mistake, clearly, but that's the biggest mistake. Because if you don't clear it, you're guaranteed, that you're going to be getting a 4. Were you at all nervous when you released it?
Not really, but there's always like that little bit in the back of your mind that's like, oh my, what if it doesn't get there? But out of my, like right out of my hand, I was like, but 2 or 3 seconds in, I was like, it's fine. It's got enough forward movement on it that it should be all right.
It's just crazy to think how you were trying to close things out. Does it mean anything more or less or different that you did this from the chase card? How does that sit with you?
I feel like it just proves the point that it doesn't matter what card you're on. You could be on 5th card and still be within 3 strokes and not be out of it. So I think it just teaches me, and should teach a lot of other people, that just because you're not on lead card doesn't mean you can't win.
Yeah, and the fact that this was such a highly contested race, and people were off to the races on Sunday, and there were a lot of good starts, maybe with the exception of Adam, but there were a lot of good starts, and it was truly felt like it was still anyone's game. And then, as you said, you just closed it out, getting 16, 17, and 18. Do you love those 3 holes as closing holes just because they can be a little extra dramatic?
Yeah, I'm not going to say 16's a bad hole, but out of the final 3, it's probably I'm not going to say the worst.
Sure.
But like in terms of like potential drama holes, that's probably the least exciting out of the last 3, but it's still like not easy. There's still some OB, there's still elevated basket. And with some wind, if you miss it, you're only probably losing 1 stroke, but it feels that much worse being probably the easiest hole on the course.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think statistically, it probably, especially on days where there's tailwind, that was probably one of the easiest holes to play. Did you, switching gears just for a moment, because I'm thinking about 16, 17, and 18, but did you at all pay any attention to the FPO round? I don't know how the timing worked out, and if you were around or if stuff was over. Like, did you pay any attention to what went down in FPO at all?
Yeah, I sat in the van. I was on my phone just watching the live, see what was happening, because I knew it was pretty exciting coming down the stretch.
Clearly a heartbreaker for your teammate in Ella Hansen.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild. Do you have any thoughts about how it all went down? Kristen chasing her down, Ella coming up a little bit short figuratively, and how it all went down. Did you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I guess my only thoughts is like, I guess that's going back to our point about the closing holes. That's what those holes are meant to do. Like you already feel nervous coming down the stretch, the last three, and they're not easy. Like you want one little slip up and you could be done. So
Yeah,
I just think it shows how hard those final two holes are.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So I think I said it on the broadcast as well, but obviously off to a super great start that you've had here in the early 2023 season. What does it mean for you to get off to that great start, especially as some have said within the media, and maybe even you've probably admitted it, you didn't have a record-breaking year for yourself last year.
Which I think is kind of funny. There's that mentality, but I'm looking at your PDGA site, and you started out slow last year, but halfway through the season, you turned it on. Third, sixth, fifth, seventh, like sixth, ninth, like those aren't bad scores.
I expect more of you, Kyle. I expect more of you. That's why I'm hemming and hawing here.
I get it.
Me too.
This is, as long as we don't, end the season poorly. You're right. You took your momentum from the end of last season into this season. Now, how does that set you up for the rest of the season?
I mean, even 2021 and 2022, I didn't get off hot, and I picked it up kind of in the middle of the year. So starting out well, it gives me some real motivation to keep that going, and it just is a good, I don't know, it's a good progress checker for where I'm at, even at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I know it's a pretty big question overall, but do you have specific goals? Do you have things that, hey, in 2023, this is what I'm really aiming to accomplish or complete? Is there anything in particular? And does it change after winning an Elite Series already?
Yeah, let's say my biggest one was just to get back in the winner's circle. That was like my biggest one. Like, I don't care where, I don't care when, but I want that to happen. So now I'm here. I'll just try to do it again, or try to do it as many times as I can. I guess that's why everyone's out here, really.
Yeah, it was so exciting how it all unfolded, and obviously, I know we talked about all the different people that were in it, but did you feel at any point that someone else has a better chance to make the charge, namely because you started 3 back of the leaders?
I mean, yeah, I knew Adam was playing really well, and I mean, Calvin was on lead card. You can't count him out anywhere. So I just knew. I guess I wasn't worried about them beating me. I was just worried about. I guess I wasn't really worried about much except myself.
Okay.
Just I knew I had to do what I do, birdie as many as I could to give myself as big of a chance as I could have.
Thinking of the geography of the course, because I've been there a couple times, hole 8 that Adam had aced, there's a big backup always on 9, and even if you're playing 9, it kind of swings down a little bit behind 8 almost, or it goes off kind of in that general direction.
Yeah.
Where were you?
Yeah, it pretty much runs almost parallel.
Yeah, where were you when that happened?
We were in a backup on hole 9. We were I think the card in front of us just had teed off, and we were sitting there, and we just heard a lot of chains and a lot of cheers, and I was like, I knew someone just either hit first available and threw it in, or someone got an ace. So we all kind of just like walked over to the green and saw Adam running it down. So I didn't know where he was at. I hadn't checked scores quite to that point yet. But
yeah, and he needed that. He was off to a really, really slow start.
But I mean, if you're in Kyle's position, I can imagine you're thinking, if you haven't looked at the scores, you're like, oh, the leader just got an ace? Great. That's going to make my job that much harder. But but obviously, with the way he had missed like the previous 4 or 5 holes, that really kickstarted his. I think he got a birdie before that, and then got the ace.
Yeah, he had 1 birdie on 1.
Yeah. Okay,
and that was it. I mean, it was a really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. He birdied 6 and 7.
Okay,
I was going to say he did get off to. I'm just thinking of the 4 pars.
Yeah,
where everybody else is birdieing and he wasn't.
Correct. He was off to a really slow start, and the ace kind of
brought him back up to speed a little bit. And which is interesting. So talk about that on both 9 and 12. And this isn't anything new, but not only are there backups, but then you're forced at that point, hence what causes the backups. but you're forced to throw really kind of the toughest tee shots of the day on those 2 holes. So talk about kind of the backups and how you got through them throughout the weekend. I mean, what were some of the things that worked for you to get through those backups, or did you crumble after them? I don't know.
I mean, in those backups, and especially for those holes, I just have to stay loose. I didn't want to sit down for too long, for I guess too long at a time. I was still sitting down, but every 5 minutes or so, I'd get up and just walk around and stay loose.
Okay, yeah, it. Again, if we're going to have tough holes, especially if there's a relatively easy hole in front of them, I think of hole 8. In fact, I think of the couple holes in front of it. 7 plays pretty quick and easy generally. 6 plays pretty quick and easy, as does 5. And so you kind of rush through all those holes, lots of birdies, lots of 2s even, and then you get to hole number 9, and you're like, oh, you're pumping the brakes pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a way to ever alleviate that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you probably get through the first 8 holes in an hour, if that. So you get there, and then by the time you tee off in hole 9, it's an hour and a half. So you're there for 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah, it's and I think that's inevitable for some of our really wooded holes where just players hit early, and some of these holes that don't take all of 3 minutes to play. All of a sudden, you get to one of those holes, and it's a 20-minute play just to get through it.
Yeah, after the 25-minute backup.
And it makes it that much tougher. So I love to ask this question, but is there anything on your schedule that's out of the ordinary? And part of it I can ask that is because like last year we saw you play in Colorado at an event that you won again, I believe. I think you defended your title. Is there anything
I did
out of the ordinary on your schedule this year that someone would be like, really? Mine's going to that? And not necessarily in a bad way, but in a surprised way. Is there anything on your schedule like that?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's all DGPT or majors of some sort. Normally I'll play like 1 or 2 like one-off A tiers. I don't even think I'm playing any of those this year.
Yeah, last year you had for the last couple of years you've been playing in a few events in Michigan when you're home, or on a little bit of a chill mode, and you'll play occasionally at home. But that's not necessarily what you're planning on doing this year.
Yeah, my home A tier is on the same weekend as the Mid America Open. So
okay. And then
I think MAO's the week we fly back from Europe, I think, or most of us fly back. So luckily Cynthia lives right where Mid America is, so we just fly and then we're there, which is nice.
Perfect. And then obviously that answers the next question that we always ask of everyone is, will we see you in Europe? You're registered for the PCS Open along with the European Open, and that's got to be exciting. And I assume both you and Cynthia are going?
Yeah, that's the plan as of right now. And I know I am, and especially she is stoked to get over there for the first time. Because I was supposed to go last year, but I dropped the ball trying to get everything planned with flights and how I'm getting around, and I didn't.
Do you have your passport? Do you have your passport?
I do.
Okay. Does she have her passport?
I believe so.
Well, tell her get on it now, because it is always a pain and it always takes a long time, and then you have to rush it, and then you're Avery Jenkins and you're in Oklahoma and you're making an 8-hour drive to Chicago to the expediting place just to turn around and go to another city just so that you can fly out in time because you had to do something at the last second. So make sure you have all your ducks in a row and you're good to go with plenty of time ahead. That's some of my fatherly advice for you.
Got that. Oh, I'll keep that in mind.
Good, young man. And then also part of the weekend, which was a little bit of a surprise to us, come award ceremony, we were informed that there was going to be another bonus on top of the pretty significant check, on top of the pretty cool looking trophy. What else were you given?
I believe, were they tournament sponsors?
Yes,
or
yes,
were they just
very much
vending?
so. Yep.
Tournament sponsors, Komodo scooters, big electric scooter, which was awesome. I didn't know that until we were walking up for the award ceremony. I'm like, I get a scooter too. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but
I mean, do you have room for it with your travel in the vehicle? Can you break it down and kind of?
We're going to try to make. Yeah. Right now, it's in our friend's van. They said they have no problem taking it because they have a pretty pretty low storage as of right now, and we're working out room for it.
Okay. Yeah. I got a message from your mother saying I'm not storing that in my basement, and then I said, "Well, I'll buy it off of him," and she said sold. So she absolutely doesn't want it at her house. So good to know you found a location for it. The scooters have become a lot more popular out on the tour. We're seeing almost every other van or RV out there seems to have a scooter that comes along with it these days, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people have. I know I've had my little one wheel thing for a couple of years, and it's harder to use now, honestly, than it was when I was just driving a normal car. Because in the car, you just take it into a hotel and charge it. But with the van, I don't think I think it's too strong to be charged by like the van outlets.
Okay.
So we're having a harder time finding somewhere to charge it.
Okay. Well, I'll make the same offer I make to everybody as if I'm ever at an event and you need anything that's in my hotel room, including some outlets, you're always welcome to come charge up whatever you need to. I'm more than happy to help out. So,
All right.
yeah, and I was just going to say your one wheels, I mean, those were an incredible fad that I'm guessing I don't think have really died, but I don't feel like I see them quite as much. So maybe that is. Do you enjoy it as much when you do drive it or ride it? Do you enjoy it as much as you did from the first couple of weeks?
I mean, hmm,
This is a no.
it's still fun. It's just yeah, it's just I haven't ridden it in a while. I don't think I've ridden it since like Preserve of last year. I think that was like the last time I ever used it. So I mean, it's really fun. I I mean, like I tried some ones in like 2020, and I said I want one of these. So I just got one and went on the road with it. And then I don't know if you can see where'd it go here.
Okay.
Sure.
It looks like
I
a
don't know if you
little.
can
Oh
see.
yeah,
Is there?
the spot on your palm, or no?
No, it
Is it
should
on
be.
your
I'm
wrist?
trying to. The camera's all mirrored,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
so I'm trying to like. There should be like a scar, like right.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
You see it?
Yep.
And then there's
Definitely.
one on the top side too.
So you spilled on it, is what you're saying?
I did, and I got surgery over that off season. That luckily it's my left hand.
Yeah.
Luckily, but yeah, I'm a little scarred, pun intended, from riding that recklessly.
Okay. I mean, I could see how that. I mean, obviously, they look like a ton of fun. I've never been on one. They look incredibly fun, but they also, I mean, you need to know what you're doing, and they obviously,
Yeah.
like most things that are fun, incredibly dangerous that can go along with it. What?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like it's a grass thing for me now. Not
ah,
I'm trying to stay off the concrete whenever I can.
good call. So, speaking of your van and your touring plans, I feel like I know a couple years ago, you were in a minivan that you had built out, that you were sleeping in that, and as a lot of our touring players do, but it was a regular old minivan. And
Yeah.
now you've gone through a significant upgrade or two. Talk to us about your van and what it all has.
Van, I mean, it's pretty much got everything you need. Uh, Queen size bed. It's got a microwave, but you have to be like plugged into
Yeah.
like a power thing
Yep.
to use that. And then we have an air conditioner, like an AC unit, which I think one other person might have on tour, which is something I never really thought that I would need. But now that I have it, it's amazing. I couldn't imagine going through the Midwest without it. So we have
Okay.
that. We have fridge, oven, stove, lots of storage. I mean, everything you pretty much need.
All built out and everything that you need. Now, are you guys, because I know everyone's a little bit different when it comes to this, are you guys okay with, do you go to campsites? Are you guys going into like a Planet Fitness? Like, what's kind of the strategy for when you guys want to get freshened up?
Mainly, we'll either try to like find like people like friends' hotels or Airbnbs, but most of the time we're Planet Fitness or
Okay.
um, campsites when we can't park like on site at the course. We'll just be at a campsite and they'll have all that stuff there.
So what is, you're only a couple years into touring. Obviously, you've seen some successes. You're also touring with a significant other. What would be your words of advice if you saw somebody that's, I'm just going to say 18, they just got done with high school and they're like, I'm going on the road. What would be your words of advice to someone?
Make sure you have all your, I guess you said this earlier, make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Make sure you know where you're going. Make sure you have all your financials lined up, because the last thing you want is to be out there and then run out of money and you're stuck. So
Okay.
that's my biggest thing, is make sure you have everything figured out that you need to, because it's hard to just get up and go without figuring out what you're really doing.
Okay. And so you're like pretty much mapped out in terms of Airbnbs, hotels, or maybe more so campgrounds and such. You're pretty much mapped out throughout the rest of the year for the most part. Is that a
Yeah.
fair statement?
Yeah, last year we were able to figure that out for the most part. There's a couple new stops, but we've done some research and figured out where we can be and where we can't be.
Do you have any horror stories of, you were parked somewhere that you thought was legitimate per whomever, and then at 3 a.m. somebody's, banging on your door, anything like that? Do you have any like crazy stories like that?
You're too spot on with that one, Terry.
Okay. Okay.
We were at Glendoveer at Portland last year. There was
Okay.
us and then 4 or 5 other van people, where it was like 3 or 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and like everyone said they had like their car doors, like their doors like pulled on in the middle of the night, like people trying to get in. And I know Cynthia woke up and she was like, someone just pulled on the door. I'm like, no, it's fine. You're dreaming. Then we just went back to bed, and everyone else in the morning is like, did you hear this? Did this happen to you too? And we're like, yeah. So someone did try to, I guess, I don't know if they're trying to break in or just looking for like shelter or what,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Okay.
that's like really the only crazy thing we've had. That I can recall.
Well, knock on wood. Hopefully, that's the last crazy thing that you have.
Yeah,
then
I got
as well.
There
Yeah,
we go.
exactly. I love it. Awesome. Just today, there was a news announcement, as Johnny's pulling up on screen. Maybe we can put those up on screen. I'm not sure, but there was a news announcement that they were going to have a commemorative series disc out there, the Triumph series, I believe. Talk to us a little bit about it. Johnny will put it up on screen. So if you want to talk about what we're looking at.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're just like commemorative win discs for, like, I guess all the team members when they win or do something really important or win something. It's just a little disc that says, "Hey, congrats to this," and it's just a little bonus for us.
And so yours is
And
the Midnight Prowl 2, as well as the
Yep.
Sea Line FD3.
yes, the FT3 was my second shot on hole 17. It's pretty much what I used to clinch the birdie on that one.
Okay.
So that was a really important one.
And there, one's $23.99, the other's $22.99.
Or
you get the bundle
get the bundle, folks. Don't F around.
Good.
for $37.99 and save yourself $5 or $6.
That's a smart move.
Yeah.
That's a steal.
That
Smart
puts
move.
money in Kyle's pocket, too. So we like that. So we can get
Does.
back to Cheddars. Scale of 1 to 10, where do you... I'm going to be totally honest. I love Cheddars. Scale 1 to 10, where do you put Cheddars?
I've only been there a handful of times, but I haven't had like a bad experience. I'll give it like an 8.5 right now.
Okay. I can
I really
concur.
like it. It's like, it's better Applebee's. That's the best way I can say it.
Yeah, namely because it's all fresh. Like they make it
Mhm.
there. None
It's
of
a
it
scratch
is
kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, very good. They are scattered throughout the country. So some people are thinking,
Oh,
what the
don't get me started on the
what are you
butter
talking about?
croissants. Oh, my God.
Yeah, this is not a paid ad for Cheddars, although they could easily.
We'd
sponsor
happily
me.
take them. We'd take gift certificates. We'd
Yeah.
take whatever.
Yeah, it. I don't know. I just I understand people will say it's a chain, and that's fine. But you know what you're going to get, and it's pretty consistent, and I've enjoyed it. So there's only, I think, 2 in Wisconsin that aren't near us. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan if I find them on the road from time to time. So, all right, Kyle. Well, is there anything, I mean, because we talk about everything random, but is there anything else that you want to share with us before we let you go here tonight?
Not really. I mean, I'm not going to say there's nothing exciting going on, because everything's exciting on the road, but nothing new. Nothing. It's, I don't know.
Yeah, you've got
Nothing
the
new as of right now.
You've got the Open at Austin this upcoming weekend, and then
Yep.
obviously you're going to the 28th annual Texas States down by Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And but these are both relatively new courses for the tour, so everybody's going to get a chance to see some fun new golf that nobody's ever really probably shown live before. So that's all exciting.
Yeah, and then we'll be back at Music City. Blue Ridge is going to be a new event. Looking at it, yeah,
I'm excited for that one. I've seen that on coverage.
What excites you about it in particular?
It looks really cool. I think the collegiate things were there last year or 2 years ago. I think it just looked really cool. Like the terrain looked awesome. It's like, I guess it's on a golf course, but from what I could tell, it uses like everything that's not a golf course fairway.
Okay. Yeah. So all the best parts.
Everything around it, like rough and trees and hills and pretty much everything that's there.
Perfect. All right, Kyle, this is your chance. Plug any social media accounts. Remind everyone where they can go support you, whether that's the DIS or other places. Plug all your sponsors. Give the spiel for everybody before we let you go.
Yeah. First, those Triumph Series discs on Discmania.net, if they're still available, they should be. Right there. Yep. I don't think they're sold out.
It doesn't say sold out, but
those are available. Okay. Yeah, if they're there, go pick those up. Discmania, and then all my other sponsors: Grip Equipment, Whale Sacks, Great Lakes Disc, and then follow my Instagram, Kyle Klein DG, and then check me out on YouTube. I only have 2 YouTube videos on there, but it's getting revamped soon, so be on the lookout for that.
All right. We're looking forward to it. All right, everyone. We're going to let him go. He's off to just truly a kick-ass start to the season. A 4th place over there at Vegas to open the season. A 1st place here at Waco. So trending in the right direction for sure. Kyle, we thank you so much for being available to us tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight. And looking forward to seeing you on coverage here in the next couple of weeks. So best of luck to you, pal.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Nice night, Kyle.
You as well.
All right. And Kyle also would like to shout out Great Lakes Disc and the crew over there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sponsor.
Oh, yeah. All right, folks. Good to talk to Kyle. And obviously, there's been so much hype surrounding him, and we saw him like bust into the scene. We saw what he is capable of very early, going all the way back to the Next Gen Tour.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that that's where he kind of made a quote unquote name for himself. He was already a pretty good regional player in the Midwest, but the Next Gen Tour really kicked it into high gear, and you could see from there the potential he had.
Yeah, I met Kyle there in Crown Point, Indiana. Was the first place I'd ever talked to him or I had met him, and that was in August of 2018, and he was 14, 15, somewhere in that neighborhood. His dad had brought him to the event, got a chance to meet him there, and then he'd go on eventually to win the Next Gen championship and get a pretty sizable paycheck, so on and so forth. And then obviously he's done great things. So
he's a Crush Boy now, officially. Him and Eagle are the only 2 on the Discmania.
Do they anoint you? How do you just like get to throw in that? Well, like I'm here, so call me a Crush Boy. Or is there like an official like ceremony?
I think there's a ceremony it's a secret ceremony.
Okay.
And you have to go over to Europe to have it done.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Well, either way, congrats to him. So with that, since we're already talking MPO, let's round out the top contenders here at the Waco Annual Charity Open presented by Prodigy.
Well, as we know, Kyle takes this one down with a 31 under par, birdieing the last 3 holes to put it in gear, so to speak, and beat out everybody else, including Adam Hammes, who took 2nd place by 2 strokes. Adam, as we said, got off to a really slow start when you really got to get all those birdies, and he just didn't. And he was able to kind of make up for it a little bit with his ace, but he could not close it out. Then you go down to 3rd place, Cole Redalen. God, I hate that guy. He's so young, so talented, just his whole life ahead of him. God.
Everything you never were.
Everything I never was. No, Cole Redalen, probably one of the future stars in our sport. Just amazing. He has so much potential. He only had 1 par that entire round. And he threw a bogey, and a double in there, unfortunately. But honestly, just kicking some butt. And he's got, as I said, a lot of potential, shooting a 10 down. I mean, anytime you can say that you've tied Calvin Heimberg in general, it's probably a good weekend for you, which is what he did. Calvin Heimberg as well tied for 3rd at 28 under par. In 5th place, Kevin Jones continuing his hot season. He started out obviously really well at LVC, continues it. Had to eat a little bit of crow on the Skip Ace podcast because I've been giving people suggestions on maybe who they can pick and who to stay away from.
How's that working out for you?
For the most part, pretty good. I had 2.
Oh, is that why I read a Kevin Jones death threat to you?
Well,
hey, a-hole, I saw what you were saying about me.
Listen, he would never do that. He would just make an EDM song about me. John, you're going to die. No, Kevin, I said two of the people I said stay away from this weekend, Kevin Jones, Ella Hansen.
Yeah, I nailed it.
I nailed those 2, but the other ones that I did pick, honestly, really good. So, and if you want to listen to them, skipace.com and Skip Ace
sound
podcast.
like great picks.
The other picks were phenomenal. Those were the 2 I really ate crow on, though. The 2 of the ones that, like I said, they weren't just like, oh, you maybe you're right. No, they absolutely crushed it. And then 6th place, James Conrad, tied for 7th. Kale LaVisca and Matty O. Kale was one of the people I said to pick because he always plays well at Waco. Now we're going to see how that continues going into the future years when they add the golf course to it, which is what it sounds like they're going to do. Nate Sexton, the Ageless Wonder, continues his Elite Series streak. It's at like 6,000 straight events, I believe, now that he's cashed at. 10th place, Joel Freeman, Bradley Williams, James Proctor. James is having a really good season as well. He started out very hot in these first 2 events. So, again, I'm going to bring it back around to Skip Ace because we talked about him. 51% rostered in Skip Ace. Only half the teams or half the leagues have James Proctor on someone's team. I screamed
good value pick, huh?
No, he's pretty decently rated, but he's finishing really well. I don't know why I don't know why he wasn't on the team. I think he had I don't know if he's touring the second half of the season. Or at least it hasn't been announced yet. But either way, James Proctor is kicking some butt. So we're going to move now over to the FPO field, and we'll start in 10th place and work our way up from this one. 10th place, Katrina Allen. 1 stroke ahead of her, Paige Shue, who was one of my picks. So Paige Shue coming out after a kind of I would say, slightly disappointing Las Vegas event. Her first event back on tour after, taking a few years off. I know she's played a few small ones, but that was really her first big Elite Series. And Waco is really just the event for her, honestly, because with Waco, obviously, you want to keep it in the fairway. And if there's one thing that Paige is very good with, it's a controlled shot. She's rarely ever trying to bite off too much distance. So Paige Shue was a really good pick. Kat Murch in 8th. 5th place, Deanne Carey, Anniken Sten, and Haley King, all tied for 5th place at 8 under par. In 4th place, Sarah Hokum, again, no surprise, on a course where a large portion of it is carving fairways. You want half that course where you need to hit a line and stay in there, and there's no one better on our sport right now, it feels like, than Sarah Hokum at doing that.
Is it? I was just going to say, does it feel weird? Like, I don't feel like we even saw Sarah Hokum throw a disc this weekend, and then to see her come way out. And clearly she got the work done on the final round. I mean, she
shot 5 under on the final round to end up at 9 under, but
I was just going to say that there's a reason then, because it more than doubled her output. She was 4 under clearly. If I do some quick math there, she was 4 under through the first 2 rounds, and then comes out in the final round and then shoots a 5 under, and that's likely why we didn't really see or hear from her.
I think she was like just on the
she just
third
appeared
card.
On the the top.
She was on the 3rd card, I think, because for a long time I was looking at her like, oh, she's in like 9th or 10th place, and then she just kind of kept climbing, and it was like, oh wow, Sarah Hokum finishes 4th place. 3rd place, Owen Scoggins. Owen, who honestly didn't have a great putting weekend, had a really good driving weekend, so the opposite of what we're used to seeing from Owen, but she ends up in 3rd place. 2nd place, Ella Hansen. Obviously, we saw the heartbreak with the bogey finish, the exact opposite of Kyle Klein. And 1st place, Kristen Tatar. Birdies 2 of the last 3. She gets 16 and 18. A phenomenal birdie on hole 18 to clinch it and win. Now, Ella that was a rough finish. It really, truly, I tend to stay away from this term, but it really feels like she kind of choked. And and I only say that because it really felt like she lost control of her drive. On hole 16, she threw it nose up. I don't know if she thought the wind was going to push it and flip it over more, but she went OB to the left where I didn't see hardly anybody else go OB. It was way left. and then she takes the bogey. Hole 17, she has an okay drive, ends up a little pinched off around the corner, almost the exact same place that Kristin Tattar was last year when Kristin tried that same shot, caught the tree branch, and fell straight down. And Ella did the same thing, but hers fell out of bounds, which was really hard to see on coverage. It was, I think you had called it at some point, Terry. And then had a really good upshot to get there for the 5. But, that is kind of a solid shot that she should have, is that forehand, and she literally just sawed it off and caught that tree. Now, you don't, because the water to the left is scary. It's hard to go over there. She had an angle. She just missed it.
Yeah, and not that anybody wants to go OB, clearly, but the miss there on 17, which is so easy for me to say sitting in a chair thousands of miles away, but the miss on 17 at the green has to be deep, somewhere right or deep, because then you're gaining all of that distance.
Yep. You're
probably not losing your disc, but you're gaining all of that distance, and you have a comebacker. There's still going to be a water's edge and everything, but there's a lot of room off to that right-hand side. So if you're going to miss anywhere, and I understand it's so scary probably standing on that hill with a ripping headwind or any kind of wind. It doesn't even have to be ripping, but the fact that you're trying not to flip it over into the water where you could take it way back, you're trying not to saw it off and go high and right, but you have to go deep or pin high and right. That's the miss. If you're going to miss, I can understand, like, you're ready to throw and you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to hang it out over the water and it should come right back in. And then all of a sudden you're like, then you pull it right and you're 35 or 40 to the right of the pin. I can understand that. That's kind of what you have to do or have to be playing for if you do mess up.
100% right.
So, yeah, tough.
And then hole 18, she gets up and it just felt like she kind of juiced the shot. Like she tried to throw a big power hyzer to get onto the other side, which I believe is her strength. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of debate on whether she made the right choice.
Oh, for sure.
Of going over to the right or laying up to the left and then pitching onto the green, so to speak. But Ella's strength is her power shot, not necessarily her approach or her touch shot. So if she hadn't practiced that second shot on the layup, so to speak, the layup side, I think for her, the right move, and she birdied it one round, and I think she parted another round by taking the over-the-water shot, we'll say. I believe that Ella made the right choice. She just threw either the wrong disc or she overpowered it with that wind. It flipped up. She knew it almost right out of her hand. You could see it. It went OB, and then she missed the approach. She could have at least tied it with a good approach, but she shorted the approach, much like Nate Sexton did, almost from that exact position. I believe it was second round. He was almost in the exact same position, tried to throw a forehand. It's a scary shot as well because you've got the water just to the left. So, I mean, you can bail out to the right, but if you bail out to the right, then you're looking at an incredibly scary putt. And she just threw it into the ground. And so she only got to move up like 50 or 70 feet and still had a 40, 50 footer to go and put it under the pin or whatever. Kristin Tattar walks up to her 30 footer and cold as ice, no doubts, drained it dead center. There wasn't even a question.
I feel like she had a doubt for a moment, but somehow she squashed those doubts.
Well, she walked back. The funny thing is she walked back to her bag to get a different disc.
And then didn't use it.
She grabbed the blue disc out of the bag and then just ended up holding it in her hand. Mm-hmm. And solid as, solid can be solid.
I think she was thinking, hey, Blue Disc, do you just want to come along for the championship
hey,
ride?
Look at me win this, Blue Disc.
I didn't use you a lot, so here you go, Blue Disc. That's probably,
but anyway,
that's her harp.
Probably. Talking about Ella, I mean, it's unfortunate what happened to her. I think it just shows that she has a lot of skill that maybe, including myself, didn't expect her to have at this point. Because I didn't think she was going to be able to kind of get through these woods as clean as she did. And she did it. She didn't rack up a ton of birdies, but I don't believe most of the women didn't on those holes. There were a lot of scattered pars. Alexis Mondahano and Holly Finley kind of went through those woods really powerful. Mm-hmm. Haley King did okay as well at the end of the woods. Nobody else really kind of powered through them. Tattar did very well on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But anyway, Ella's showing that her skill set is up there with the rest of these women that have been playing for a long time, and that she is not to be trifled with, so to speak, on a wooded course. There's no questioning her anymore. If she can keep that up, she's bound to win a few of these Elite Series events in the next year or two.
And I'll follow that up and say even more impressively, the what seemed to be somewhat of her crutch or her downfall in the first 2 rounds, or what we saw of her, was just being timid on a few putts, being a little bit shy. You saw that left side chain and out, or just low and left side. Just, whether you call that an overcommitment or whatever you want to call it, a follow through, I don't know. I'm not going to break that down. But she was left, low and left. That was the consensus. That was the regular miss, so to speak. But when she came out, and especially when she got the first 4 or 5 birdies, clearly her putting looked confident.
It looked really confident.
I mean, we're talking dead center chains, good height. She wasn't limping anything in. It was a powerful putting stroke, and it was scary there for a moment for everyone else. I'm like, she's gonna
run away with this.
Yeah, she is not gonna just whimper away here at all. She's gonna make things happen. So, yeah, very impressive.
The thing that killed me the most about Ella Hansen is all I kept thinking in the background. It was heartbreaking to see her on the green. Mm-hmm. The way she kind of just crumbled, and then her, as we saw, everyone has probably seen the pictures. 3 of her friends come over, surround her, give her nice, comforting. Kristen Tatar came over and talked with her afterwards, and just everybody was comforting Ella. And all I kept thinking, and this might be just my business side brain, there's only 2 people on the Sky team for Discmania. It's Kyle and Eagle. Ella's gone on record to say that Discmania won't put her on the Sky team until she wins an Elite Series event. And now, whether that's going to stay that way, whether they have standards like that, whether they'll make exceptions, I don't know. But she was asked in the offseason about being on the Sky team, and she said when she wins an Elite Series. So all I kept thinking was, not only did this win cost her a couple $1,000, $1,000 or $2,000 on the actual course.
Yeah, sure. Other implications that went along with
all
it.
the other implications.
Sure.
And I think maybe, I don't know if she was thinking that. I don't know if that was in the back of her head, if afterwards, if all that, that buildup, just thinking about what you can get. Like, look at how Kyle wins this, and he gets 2 discs, and he's going to get a cut of those sales. He's going to make how many ever thousands of dollars, hopefully, off those. Ella's missing out on all of that still. Now, granted, she could win the next one and whatever.
Sure.
It's tough right now to win, though, in FPO. Kristen Tatar didn't play great, and she still won. Paige Pierce, at some point, is probably going to turn it on at some point in the season. We saw Katrina Allen already having a pretty good season, like she did at LVC. Getting to those positions is not easy. So the fact that Ella missed out on this opportunity could literally cost her 6 digits, depending on when she can get on the Sky team, which I think she will at some point. But It just depends. Is it going to be this year, next year? I don't know. But maybe it was wrong for me to be sitting and thinking that as I'm watching it.
No, I mean, it's a real-world implication that a lot of people don't necessarily think about. 6 digits might be a high guess, but maybe you're spot on. I don't know.
I mean, I
guess it depends on when
she
gets over the hump or does pick up a win.
If she doesn't get onto the team until next year, that could be 6 digits.
Yeah, maybe.
If she, like I said, if she gets on in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, kind of no harm, no foul. It killed me inside thinking like, oh my God, this could change your life. Literally, this win will change your life. And she didn't get it. It's unfortunate, but.
Yeah. Well, Kristen doesn't think it's unfortunate, but.
I bet you Kristen does, but she doesn't care.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, that sucks for you.
Yeah.
Look at my trophy and my scooter.
Congratulations. A hard fought battle among both of them, or between both of them and the rest of the field. As you said, when you're seeing Paige Pierce not in the top 10, you're seeing Katrina just barely creeping into the top 10, and then you're seeing some names that you don't necessarily see, like all just kind of, I don't want to say flopping around, all over the place. Like, yeah, it was an incredible battle. And Waco proved yet again that it can provide some of this excitement and drama. It's so funny how this year, and I know you said that it feels like the vibe, kind of the tune is changing, or not that people hated Waco by any means, but the fact that so many people are really echoing that sentiment now, like we should have every tournament at a Waco like course. And I can understand. I mean, clearly it created for unbelievable drama.
Ask Mo, who's on the board. Ask him how he felt going into that final round.
He's hating life.
He's hating life because when you have in MPO 11 players within what 3 strokes, 2 to 3 strokes, that's miserable for Mo.
Yeah,
but FPO after round 1, I know the control room kind of felt, this is probably Tatar's to go with, and then she tanked the second round, which brought everybody else in it. And obviously Ella had a really good round, but it's getting very difficult to win an FPO and MPO for that matter. But
yeah, and just to be clear, when we're talking about Mo, the producer of the show, just the madness of where the storylines are, it's inevitable. At one point, Paul Ulibarri messaged me during the final round, sent me a text message, and said, "Hey, you should check out Joel's scorecard. Look what Joel's doing." Joel was playing phenomenal. Yeah, Joe started like 8 out of 8 or 9 out of the first 9 with an eagle.
Yeah, 9 out of the first 9 with an eagle.
It was a phenomenal. The problem was Joel was not in any chance to actually make a run at the win. Now, of course, this is day 2, different conversation in that you get a camera on him because he's shooting one of the hot rounds, potentially a record-breaking round. Different story. But we're in the middle of we're almost in the middle of round 3. And for Yuli to say, we're not seeing Joel or whatever he said. Maybe he didn't say we're not seeing him, but he should take a look. And I was like, yeah, we covered that at the start of the show. We mentioned it. And now, unfortunately, it's irrelevant because if he shoots an 18 under, he wasn't catching. That just happened to be. And of course, it's nothing to do with Joel. It's just that was live TV for that day, that an 18 under by Joel would have been cool for SportsCenter, even though we wouldn't have seen it. It would have been cool in a feather in his cap. But he wasn't going to win the tournament. And those are some of the things that I feel like so many viewers just can't either accept or don't realize. Yes, there's crazy stuff going on all over the course. You'd love to see as much as possible, but you have to be concerned about what the most practical and legitimate storyline is. And in that case,
I personally love when people who aren't in the control room are suggesting storylines for us.
Yes. Yes. You know what you should do?
You should really cover this. Why aren't we seeing this? Well, where's my buddy? I know he's like 4 down through 6.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
The other really cool thing we saw, Jared Stoll throwing a tomahawk on hole 17, going up and over the trees, landing just inside or just outside the circle? Look, I think it was just
on the, I believe, just inside the circle.
Right on the edge of the circle there. And unfortunately not able to complete the eagle, but a crazy throw nonetheless. I didn't see really anybody else try to go up and over during the round. Now, that could have happened off camera, as we said. I don't know for sure. But nobody really tried it that we saw on camera, at least. Not from the tee. I know we saw 1 or 2 people. I think we saw Cat try to go over the trees.
Yeah, and didn't Macbeth do it in round 1 when he was pinched up against the right side? Or was that maybe that was last year he tried it?
I know last year
he was out of position.
Yeah, he went up and over. But ultimately, a really awesome shot. I don't know if it was a thumber or a tomahawk, so to speak. My guess is a thumber, but I couldn't say for certain.
Yeah, that I don't know positively either as to which it was. But either way, incredible. And somebody should correct me if this is the time I'm wrong. I feel like we've seen people try that in years past. I'm talking over the duration of the last 5 or 6 years that we've been at this event. I feel like we've seen that. Now, clearly, the trees grow up more. The wind is 100% a factor there. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Jared. I'm just saying that has been tried. I don't even recall the success rate on it. That has been tried in the past, but I believe absolutely incredible.
I believe a few years ago, maybe it was even Simon that tried it. I don't recall for sure, but I think someone went deep in the water, and I believe I've seen someone get caught up in the trees and then just walk up like 20 feet and have to throw a round, because if you don't make it, you either re-tee or you're pinched up along the trees, and there's no way you can do it. So
yeah, and just think, and Mo, who's on the board, brings up another great point. As he's thanking the cameraman, he said some cameraman noticed, like he was lining up the shot, they had the wherewithal all to film it, and because Jared was on like the 4th or 5th card, I think he's saying, and there's not necessarily a ton of, they might have been waiting on a backup, and there wasn't necessarily a ton of emphasis being put on that card in the first place. So the fact that a cameraman noticed the potential craziness of the shot and then ultimately recorded it so that back in the production booth could even grab the shot. Like, all of that is incredible, because we all know the other story is Jared went up and over and he birdied it and we didn't even see it. I mean, yeah, that could have happened on the 4th or 5th card, especially on the final day. Stuff like that's going to happen. So the fact that we even got to see what we did, obviously it would have been so much cooler had he converted, but you got to think that's just a ton of pressure. I mean, the tap-in birdie is awesome, but a ton of pressure to then convert on
Try to convert on the eagle after that particular shot.
Yeah,
certainly.
So, is that everything on the MPO? No?
MPO and FPO, yeah, we've talked about everything.
The other big thing, and as always, there's almost a little disclaimer check mark here that we are not privy to and or make any formal decisions and or have all background knowledge, and we'll keep our postulating even at bay.
I won't.
But yes, many people, not all, not some, not a few, but I think many is an appropriate term. Many people experienced some form of staggering,
stuttering,
cutout,
buffering,
some form. Now, there is a little bit of conversation as to what devices, and it's funny because some people have posted. They'll say, I was watching it on my computer and I had it on my phone. The computer was great and my phone crashed. I've seen that. I've seen the opposite. But there definitely was something that was awry during the last couple of holes, and understandably, there's a lot of frustrated people with that.
There was. I think the DGPT kind of had to eat a little bit of dirt online for hole 18, because my understanding is that, and it happened to me, I was sitting on my couch, I was watching the MPO, Kyle was on the tee, and my Roku, which I was watching it on, my big TV, started to suddenly buffered and started to spin. Now, the first time it happens, right away I think, well, this could be my internet. There's a good chance of that. Then it happens again, and start watching online. You're seeing comments. It's happening to other people. What I believe, and I don't know, we're not involved in any of the conversations yet, is that it feels like there was a sudden influx of people towards the end. People wanted to see this really tight finish, and the CDN Vimeo probably had an issue with that.
A large spike in viewership?
A large spike in viewership, because my guess is it probably went up 500, 1,000, 1,500 people in a relatively short amount of time.
Okay.
That's my guess.
That's your guess.
That's my guess. I don't know for sure, but that's what it feels like to me. And now, I mentioned to somebody else online, I said, there's a really good, because someone had said, is it all the people with their cell phones on the courses? And I'm like, no. You can really see where the breaking point is. If you are watching and the camera gets a little blurry, but the scores stay crystal clear, then it's on the ground. That's the camera signal coming in. I noticed that the scores were getting blurry and the camera was getting blurry. That's probably an issue with either your internet or Vimeo. If you go online and you don't see anybody else having a problem, it's probably you. If you go online and you see a couple posts about how the DGN in 18 is failing again, blah, 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 it's probably DGN. Now, what I will say is DGN is aware of this. DGPT is aware of this.
And they care.
They care. There are talks behind the scenes. And again, I haven't been involved in them. I haven't needed to be, thankfully. It's not my thing. But I know they're working with Vimeo. I know they're talking to them. I had heard that it is getting all the way up to Mr. Rainwater. So when it goes up there, something's being done. So I just... And it's I can't tell you just, sit down, relax, and wait. Nobody wants that. You're paying for a service. You want it to be quality. I get that. And I can't fault you for that. For anybody. Can't fault anybody for that. So, but I do want you to know that they hear you and they are working on it. I don't know the right answer. I don't know if it's going to get fixed, because if it is an issue, let's pretend it is an issue with Vimeo and they're their, CDN, which stands for Content Delivery Network, if it's getting overflowed by these whole 18 surges, I don't know what Vimeo can do. I don't know what they have access to in their data centers. What I do know is that it can't continue to happen from DGN's perspective either. And if there's not a solution from Vimeo, I feel like and
there's got to be another alternative at some point then.
You may have to go back to final round YouTubes, because YouTube is built to, I mean, if 1,500 people suddenly log into YouTube, they call that 3:03 p.m.
Yeah.
Like it's a regular thing. Vimeo, not the same. It's not built for that type. Well, it is built for this, but it might not be prepared for those sudden big surges. I know the DGN is also looking at getting off of Vimeo, or at least researching options. I've been involved in some of those meetings, and I can't say much, but I do know that their talks are happening. But I know that they're on Vimeo through the year. At least that's what the contract is. There could be anything can happen depending on what goes on behind the scenes. I don't know what to say. I can't tell you sit tight and just hope. I understand if you're frustrated. There's no question about it. You have the right to be frustrated if those are the issues, and that's where they stand right now. I wish I had something more positive, or I could tell you like, oh no, it's just this, and we're gonna fix it. It doesn't.
My big takeaway.
It doesn't feel like it's on our side, and so it makes it much more difficult to fix.
One of my biggest takeaways as I'm being brought to the airport by Nate Doss at 3:30 in the morning on Monday is he doesn't bother with social media, which I don't blame him. I'm flipping through and have flipped through a number of comments. I don't get into all of them anymore, believe it or not. But, there's clearly this large frustration that's being noted, and really, you learn how to roll with some of the punches. Like you said, sometimes you're in the wrong or something doesn't happen and you just own it. But I cannot stress this enough, and please tell your friends. Disc Golf Network does care. They do not want it to happen. None of us want something like that to happen. Disc Golf Pro Tour, Disc Golf Network, the event that works so damn hard to put on an event, and I'm sure the TD unfairly probably received some heat for it. Ryan Draper and Joey Harrell probably at some point got a message and said, oh, your tournament was great till it cut out on me, which has nothing to do with them. So I just cannot stress, and I'm not just being an apologist or a spokesman. They don't pay me to say this. I'm just telling you, they absolutely do care. Like that's berserk and bizarre and crazy and ludicrous and everything else. If you think they don't care, there's the comment of, well, they have our money. They have no reason to improve. We started with one effing camera in 2014. One camera.
Mo says you're wrong, and he actually goes out of his way to ruin people's days.
Okay. Well, then send all messages to Mo at... No, so that's my point. I get it. You're saying, I don't care. I don't want to hear excuses. I'm not giving you excuses. I am assuring you, though, that it is serious, and obviously they care. None of us. I don't want somebody to... I get messages. That's why I say I know the TD does, because I got messages.
I get tons of messages,
Everything
too.
was great until this happened. I'm sorry, that wasn't me. I kept talking, just like I always do. I just keep
you don't
talking.
shut up.
And to be honest with you, clearly, because of where we are in Bend,
you didn't notice.
I have no idea that's even happening. Like, no idea. So,
and what it looked like from the very small sample size that I talked to people, I have a fiber connection here in the office, here in my house, and which is a very high speed. I think I have a gigabit up and down.
High fiber, you know what that does.
Ooh.
Anyway.
And it's also what's called very low latency. So the connection is very fast. You can have a high-speed connection and have high latency as well. Well, fiber is low latency. So mine buffered but came back really quick. And I think that has something to do with it. So if it does have a problem, your personal internet connection speed can factor into how long it takes to reconnect. Because I heard some people say, like, it went out for me and it didn't come back in until like after his putt. For me, the buffers, 1 to 2 seconds, it spun and then it connected back up. And I think it did that 3 times. But so I didn't personally miss anything. I think it buffered once when Kyle was on the tee, and then it buffered when we watched something else, and then as I think Adam Hammes was walking around behind the tee. And then it was good. And I think a lot of people logged off after after Hamas had thrown and they knew he didn't put it in. So whatever happened, but I do believe that also has a small factor. And again, not blaming you for having, if you're on your 4G or 5G or your coax connection, whatever that is, I get it. Shouldn't happen. I'm just saying that for some people, they might have gotten the connection back faster, or maybe not even noticed a connection issue, depending on servers and whatnot that happening in the background. That's really all I think we have to say about it. There's not much more we can kind of talk about. We all understand things are being done. Think people are being talked to. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and I'm sure someone's going to write a blog tomorrow and be like, Terry and Johnny were just on there,
defending the DGBT, carrying water for them.
Yeah, we understand the frustrations. Again, they care, and they're working on it, and that's what we can say about it. If I ever had a day off and could watch disc golf, I'd be frustrated too. Anyway, speaking of frustrations and watching disc golf.
Oh, no, Terry.
I do not know this gentleman, nor more importantly, did I pay this gentleman.
Come on.
But today,
you're greasing palms, aren't you?
Somebody with a YouTube channel, and of course, you only put so much stock. I say it all the time. If you're going to ignore the haters, you can only do so much with the people that applaud you as well. But someone today who has a very thought out angle and perspective had made a post. Or made a video, in fact, a full video, and I was pointed to it. And he went on to talk about how he really does enjoy Nate Doss's commentary.
So do I.
Which isn't a surprise to many of us. We all get it. You like this person, you hate that
Nate's.
person, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I get all that. But I mean, this is not just like, oh, I like him, he's good. Like, there was some long, really particular points that he made. I don't want to say long, but there were some very elaborate points that he had made. In full disclosure, he also made some very kind remarks about me and the work that I do, which I appreciate. But either way, I can't. Somebody sent it to me and said, "How much did you pay this guy?" Honestly, that's how it was sent to me today. And I don't have his channel directly in front of me, but it was just an interesting take and perspective. And really, I then wrote, I said, hey, thank you for the kind words. I wish my kids liked me as much as you do. And secondly, I do want to just say, as a side note to it, because he was talking about various commentators, what he likes about Philo or Ian and Nate and Val, whatever. He was talking about all of us. And I did say in the comments, I said, a lot of people don't realize and understand that essentially Ian and I have the same job, and the rest of the people are color commentators. Whether you like me or not, I am not supposed to be doing the same thing as Nate Sexton or Nate Doss or Philo. Like, we have very different roles, and I think way too often people just say, well, commentary, and they throw it all in together, and just know that. Now, I think it gets a little more blurry probably. I don't know how Jomez and Gatekeeper and those guys, like, kind of officially, if they do define their roles when it comes to their commentary teams in any more formal sense. But from our perspective, I am the host of the show. I'm to open it up and hopefully tell you we're in the right city. I'm to throw us to commercial. I'm to give you the basic play-by-play. And the color analyst, whether that's Philo or Nate Doss or Nate Sexton, they're there to do what they do and provide that. And I just feel like it's a distinction that's worth making that a lot of people just don't understand. They kind of throw everybody together under one umbrella. And so for what it's worth, myself and Ian are your play-by-play hosts. And that's something just to keep in mind. And even the gentleman that posted, he said, I never thought of it that way. Again, he said a lot of nice things. He had some very legitimate criticisms of Nate and I, which I fully take and I'm all about. But I do think that that's just kind of something to think about in general for people.
I really felt, and Tim Courts exactly brings up what I was going to say, you didn't have nearly enough puns this weekend.
Sorry.
I do expect at least one every 9 holes.
Okay.
Or
there's room for improvement.
Or like a mediocre dad joke.
I probably had one or two of those in there.
I'm sure you did, but I don't know if it was as frequent. I mean, they're kind of interchangeable. Mediocre dad joke, pun.
Yeah.
I don't want to be hammered with them, but the subtle ones. Those are the ones I think you really need to. You need to up your game, Terry.
Okay.
So
I mean, until I get yelled at, it sounds like I need to do more. I don't think I said anything too incredibly stupid this weekend, so there's a...
no, the stupidest thing was Nate when he said the OB thing. That was really, I mean, and that's a mistake that can happen.
Yeah.
I'm not faulting him for it, but it was just one of those. He already sees enough criticism to then just have this be like the 5th year in a row, and it's never been OB, and then he kind of is like, no, that's OB, and it's like, it's never been OB, Nate.
Yeah.
And so I get
it just feels like it should be.
Yeah, I
like, when
100%
you look at the whole.
I 100%
and
agree.
You think about what's in front of you.
It looks like it should
It
be.
looks like it should be.
And you know what? Next year it probably will be, and then everyone will be thrown off. And it just that was honestly probably the worst thing that was said, and that is so minor in the grand scheme of things. Which he even joked about the next day. I think he made a joke on round 3 about him saying it was OB versus.
Yes, he did. And the dumbest thing. Thank you, Ryan. I knew I just had to ask for it, and you guys would point it out. The dumbest thing I said was we were on 17 in I think the morning of Saturday morning, round 2 during the FPO. It was with Val, so it was either round 2 or round 3, and they were coming around 17, and I said, "Yeah, that driveway." Like heading toward the water, that pavement driveway heading toward the water, boat ramp was nowhere even remotely like in my thought. And as I was saying it, it felt stupid, but the idea of boat ramp, which is exactly what I'm familiar with, at no point entered my brain. And of course, it didn't take long. There was a post I saw that said, Terry, the thing that leads down to the water, that's what we call boat ramps. And so, of course, I had to bring it up and correct myself and said, well, any idiot would know this is a boat ramp over here. But yes, that was easily, probably the dumbest thing I said this weekend. So
it's all right. Yeah. Everybody says dumb things.
I remember seeing my first boat ramp. Yeah. I've been in boat ramps. I used to go fishing with my dad. I know what a boat ramp is. It's also one of the most stressful parts of the weekend, right?
Is putting the boat in.
Is getting the boat usually back on. Getting it in is the easy part. Putting the boat back on it, you got to line it up just right. You got to know how far to pull in.
If you want to see
how wet do you want to get? Like,
some really funny YouTube videos, look at like
boat ramp fails.
People trying to back them in and end up like just backing their whole car in.
No, my dad was so good at like backing up the car or the truck or whatever and making that happen. But it was always a little bit stressful about and how wet you were
using the winch.
Exactly.
You're definitely going up to like your knees to get the boat up. 100% I've been there.
Yeah. So anyway,
that's welcome to Midwest Boys.
Yeah, we're talking bait and tackle. Our next guest is going to be Adam Hammis. He likes to go out into the wilderness and do woodsy things.
We're bringing on Tom Jenkins, who used to work at Mercury Marine.
Yeah,
make the
he'll
best
get
engines.
You a 750 horsepower, something or other motor. Anyway, all right. Wow, I feel like that's a lot of the topics from this weekend. The only other thing that we are uncertain about, again, because that's above my pay grade, we did see another iteration this weekend of Tournament Central. I really do love the idea. I think they're working on exactly what that show needs to be and what they want it to be. I also don't know if I'd ever be involved if I'm on site like Brian was this weekend when he was the sideline fill-in reporter guy.
If you have any questions about Tournament Central, talk to Mo.
Yeah.
Mo's in control of that. He's probably hanging. Right now, he heard me say that, and he turned off his computer.
And again, like everything else, I feel like it all takes some time. There's clearly some hiccups. There's clearly some challenges. And I think it's a matter of just working into the right flow of what that's going to look like. So, Mo, good night.
Good night, Mo. He just posted good night, guys. Tournament Central, it's getting better. We saw the first iteration at LVC. Nobody loved it. There's a lot of things to improve. We saw this weekend, at one point, I believe it was, I forget the gentleman, Charles? Dylan, sorry. Dylan and Liz, and I don't know why Liz wasn't on the rest of the weekend. I don't know if it was a previous obligation or what was going on. So Brian stepped in, and a lot of people love it when Brian's in there because Brian is a natural speaker. He's on site. He knows what's going on. It's real easy as a guest, as a host, to just throw it to him and let him talk because he's good at it. So it really makes your job very easy. The problem with that is I don't think that's what necessarily the show wants to be, is just, hey, Brian, tell us about this tournament. Because they do want to have things like highlights and a little more in booth analysis, not necessarily Terry's booth, but the fake studio booth. So I believe there's still a lot of room to grow with this. Be patient. Again, look at how Smashbox started. Look at this show. We're 446 episodes in, and we suck still.
We're still not even on time.
But it was worth it for the malts. We were like a minute and a half late.
Okay.
So give it time. You might think it stinks for another 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. I don't know. Maybe they find a really great way to do it. Maybe Brian is the answer. Maybe Brian's temporarily. Maybe Charlie comes in. Maybe Terry comes in. Maybe there's someone. Maybe Mo goes in and does it. I don't know. Come on, Mo. Get in front of that camera.
Mo does know a lot. Everything. It'd be a good idea. So anyway, we'll see how it grows and develops and exactly what the overall goal is with it. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Ryan Pilcher says JVD should host the show. No, probably not.
No, not a good idea.
I think I would be mildly mediocre.
Yes, we need the Goog. That's who we need to bring in.
The Goog.
Bring in the Goog. Dust says, I volunteer as tribute. Well, I would like to tribute to you. All right. And Andre not returning. Again, those are all things that we don't know about. I would just simply want to give a little touch in on the topic. Obviously, it was talked about throughout the weekend. Also talked about throughout the weekend, before we get into the after show, fair or not, right or wrong, we have a pretty set routine when I go to. I'll talk about this in the after show. It doesn't. Yeah, this doesn't.
This sounds like
matter.
This sounds like after show fodder.
It is more after show fodder. I don't know if you got anything else here, Johnny. I'll make a quick plug here, as they'll do in the after show, because I had gone to Thailand, which I don't know if I told you all about, was effing phenomenal.
Yeah, you mentioned it multiple times.
Yep. Because I went there, I wasn't able to personally cover the action that took place at the Maricopa Open. Broke my heart. However, I was able to get a cameraman there. We got 3 rounds of coverage, first, second, and third round. That would make sense. We got all 3 rounds of coverage, a feature card, and then lead card of MPO. It's all fully edited. Today, MPO feature card round number 1 dropped. It's out there. It's on my channel. Go out and watch it. Come on, what else are you going to watch this week? We have like 2 or 3 days before we get to Austin, right? So you can watch all the preview tournament videos that some of our players put out. Sure. But if you want to get caught up, Maricopa Open is taking place. That was, I think, one of the earliest. It was one of the earliest tournaments where AB was throwing Discraft. Adam Hammis is there, Aaron Gossage, Andrew Marweed, some of those guys. So
speaking of AB, today was ratings update day.
Oh.
And Terry, you don't need to go on your ratings rant.
Dang it.
So just shut up. But Anthony Barella did jump into the 1040 group. I believe he moved up, I think he was 1039 or 1038 before. He's at 1042, so we have another person above 1040. I don't know if anyone dropped out of the 1040 group. Right now, that includes at 1040 above Matty Oram, Kyle Klein, Gannon Burr, Calvin Heiberg, Chris Dickerson, Anthony Barella, Eagle, Andrew Simmons from Plano, Texas.
Yeah.
Richard Wysocki, Paul Macbeth, and Manabu. So we are seeing more and more players kind of work their way up into the 1040. The only other thing I have to say is some people are asking, what is Ricky's plan for this weekend? Is he playing? We don't know. I don't think anyone knows for sure. I know he wants to. I would say just keep an eye on his social media, and you'll get more of an idea there about whether or not Ricky's wrist is in a condition that he feels comfortable to play.
Ricky Wysocki?
Wristaki.
Wiki, yeah. Wisty?
Wonky?
Ricky.
Wrist wonky.
Wristy Wysocki. I don't know.
No. Ricky Wrist wonky.
Either way, congrats to all those people if your ratings thingy went up. And while I'm on it, I will talk about rate. No, I'm just kidding. What I will quickly say, though, is I managed to finally renew my PDGA membership for the 28th year. I did it recently because I hadn't played in anything yet and just hadn't gotten around to it. And I had to do so because I'm already late in posting information about the Skyline Classic. I know a lot of our viewers are, in fact, Midwesterners. Some of you come and play in the event. I posted it yesterday, the fact that registration will open on Thursday. So to give you guys a couple days heads up, one person last night I posted and said, hey, because what I don't want to do is all of a sudden, be way behind and then post registration. Then everyone's like, I had no idea it was coming. And that's totally fair. Hence, I was giving the heads up.
Oh, no. I I think you should make it a surprise.
Just out of nowhere.
Just out of
At
nowhere.
like 3 a.m. on a Tuesday or something.
Yeah, makes it fair
No.
for everybody.
No, but what I did get was a message this morning that said, hey, as I said, it would probably be 7 p.m. on Thursday. I'm kind of planning on that right now. There'll be 288 total spots over the 2 days. We should be able to accommodate quite a few people. Anyway, someone messaged me and said, hey, I'm on a plane when registration opens. Can you change the time and date?
It's not.
You don't know unless you ask,
It-
and I'm not making fun of them, but
No, not at all.
no, I'm not changing the time or the day.
What?
Because you're on a plane. Because I just think if I push it back a day to a Friday, will 20 people be on a plane?
What would you recommend?
Yeah, that I know.
Because let's just play pretend that someone is on it. Like I said, someone's on a plane. They really want to play.
I
They're-
would recommend their friend gets their information and logs in for them.
And you can register other people for the tournament.
Yes,
so
or that. That's what I really meant.
PayPal your friend, have him log in and do it. And if he doesn't, then you can blame your friend and not Terry.
That is what I would personally recommend. That is the least stressful to all parties. That is the most fair thing. I don't really want to take his money ahead of time or say, yeah, I got you, because I don't feel
not
like
really
that's fair. If I offered up some form of pre-registration for sponsors, that would be his best. That would be his best bet. Where X amount of spots are available early if you're a sponsor. So obviously, if that was an offering, that is what he should do if he really wanted to guarantee himself a spot. But yeah, you need to rely on a friend or your mom or your daddy, somebody, to go out and get you registered. I understand the frustration. I'm not dismissing it, but no, I'm not moving registration for potentially 288 people to a different time or day because you're on an airplane. I've missed some disc drops due to that. Very important disc drops. And
important ones.
Yeah, they're all important.
They're all important. to you.
Collection
All your
says they're
children
all
are important, right, Terry?
So anyway, it is April 15th and 16th. Taking place at the Gray Fox and Silver Fox courses down in Kenosha County here in Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin, just barely above the bad border, the Illinois border, just barely north of it into Wisconsin. You will play 1 round at Gray Fox, 1 round at Silver Fox. And if you really want bang for your buck, on the opposite day that you'd play in my event, you'd also maybe be playing in the Prairie Open, which is almost sold out. So don't go look for it now. But maybe you're already registered for that. And now you can get registered for mine. So 2 days over 1 weekend, all within 30 minutes of each other. Ton of great golf.
Let's wrap this up, Terror Bear.
We're going to. I like it. Yeah, Wi-Fi on the plane is a little iffy. That's a good idea as well, Dust. Wi-Fi on the plane, it'll probably be pretty slow. I would trust a friend before I would trust Wi-Fi on a plane. Especially when sometimes you may or may not be able to get through a paywall and some other things that they may or may not block due to firewalls on planes. But anyway.
Or maybe maybe you can't get the Wi-Fi because there's snakes on a plane.
Or because the plane you're on doesn't offer Wi-Fi, which is still a thing here in 2023.
And more
I've
than likely
been on
snakes.
a few planes that don't even have it, let alone it being
Snakes.
broken. Or snakes. And with that, we're going to call it. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We got to thank Kyle Klein and all of his gracious supporters and sponsors who jumped on and showed up tonight. We appreciate you guys all for tuning in. Again, thanks, Kyle, for joining us. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. This is 466?
446.
446. Now I'm really losing it. This is Smashbox TV Podcast 446. We're going to have an after show as soon as we get done with this. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in. Smashbox TV Podcast 446's After Show. I'm almost getting delusional about opening various videos. And I say that because I did commentary on the Maricopa Open today. I'll be doing more tomorrow and then more the next day. I just did 20 videos, otherwise known as 10 rounds of Memorial. And this is not a complaint, but sometimes I'm starting to lose myself a little. Obviously, just opened the men's and women's shows this weekend in Waco, and it's just getting a little bit. I'm starting to get a little delirious myself.
Well, the good thing is you'll have yourself a little break.
Yeah, maybe. So, anyway, welcome in, everyone. This is the after show where disc golf might get talked about. It kind of is the underlying theme and premise for the most part, but it can easily get off the rails into anything else silly, crazy, pop culture related or not. And we're always guaranteed to give you some really good insights on religion and politics. That's the after show. Okay, it's not. So what I talked about this. I hinted at it during the regular show, and I don't. This isn't really behind the scenes, but in explaining to someone else today who was asking how things go when I go to Bend. First of all, we all know I'm not a morning person, so the idea that disc golf, like I am up and waiting for Nate Doss to grab me from the hotel, sometimes at 5:45, sometimes at 4:45. It might even be later this year for some events. I'm waiting for him to grab me so that we can go and be in the booth an hour before the show starts. When we get our rundown, whatever. It's all great. We have our morning show with FPO. Depending on how long that goes, I can have as little as 20 minutes to as much as an hour or maybe a little more before the MPO show starts. Repeat, and that means sometimes we're getting done at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever. It depends on where the event is because we're on the West Coast. And then usually when we're done with that, as soon as the MPO show is done, myself, Nate, and Val retreat to their living room. We then, of course, load up Tournament Central this weekend so we could figure out what we were talking about. And then we kind of reminisce on the day. And then eventually Nate and Val pick a place. And now it's to the point where Nate's always like, I heard him say this weekend, yeah, I don't want to go there. No, let's not go there. There'll be beers that Terry likes here. So that's where sometimes how the decisions, so kind and so gracious. So that's how the decisions get made as to which brewery will likely suit my palate the most. And we go sometimes to places that have none of those options, and then I always have to say, well, I like this, and he's like, no. I say, okay, then I pass, which is totally fine. So we go find some place to eat, have a beverage, and then often we'll go back to their place. We'll kind of have a recap where we talk more about disc golf, and then they'll take me, which is only a couple miles, they'll take me over to the hotel. He'll take me over and drop me off. Rinse and repeat. Sometimes now we've gone out for a round of golf. Sometimes we do some other things. And then, of course, usually once a weekend, we sprinkle in one of those visits on that night. On one of those nights will be a visit to Bevel, depending on what's going on at Bevel. Do they have people there that we know? They know everybody. But are there other people that are in town? Or they want to just go in there for whatever reason. And so sometimes we'll go there and we'll eat out of their food cart pod that's directly behind Bevel. They have now 4 food carts. They just are taking applications for the 4th one. That's pretty much our routine. And so this weekend, I kind of felt like I should share some of that. And so I was posting some of the food and the beverages that we had. And there was a lot of response to it. No surprise. People are really worked up about the beers that they enjoy, which I can understand. Obviously, Nate and Val understand that. They have a company doing it. And I got a lot of great responses, a lot of really super nice offers, people telling us about other places we need to either go visit or when we're in their neck of the woods, how we should visit a particular place. So it was a lot of fun. Also ran into Brandon this weekend. He's worked with Seth Muncie. He actually worked on Nate's shoulder when Nate was injured back in 2017's Memorial and helped get Nate back up to speed. him and his family, his wife and 2 kids, we ended up going to Deschutes, which, if you're a beer drinker, you're familiar with Deschutes. It's
I've
one
heard of
the
it.
Yeah, that's
The
just
large-
it. Like one of the largest. I mean, you could go international.
They're like the
and
super large
find-
microbrewery or
yeah,
something.
so you can go international and find Deschutes. But we did go there, had a couple of good beverages, and also a phenomenal pretzel. So just waiting on that pretzel stand I'm going to open up.
Give a name?
Sharon and I, Valerie's mom, Sharon Jenkins, we had a few ideas, and nothing we've locked in yet. But I really do want to open a pretzel stand out there.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
You want to talk about how small our world is getting? I got a message yesterday from Hype Man Dan out of Minnesota.
Yep.
Dan Reynoso. And he just messaged, he's like, oh, I haven't messaged you in a long time, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, I was at the dentist for my kid. Like, okay, cool. I don't know where this is going. I keep reading. He knows I like disc golf, so we started talking about disc golf. That's awesome. Everybody, And he's like, he told me that he's in 2 Skip Ace leagues, and he proceeded to run down his lineup like fantasy football. And he just smiled and nodded. Yeah, and he said, I said, well, that's great. I'm super happy about that. There's a stigma and a joke to be held about people in fantasy football who talk about their fantasy football lineups. Like
how obnoxious it is. Our friends included.
Correct.
To me, who doesn't play.
If you don't play,
that's part of it.
Agreed.
Even if you do play, I probably don't care. But anyway.
Well, sometimes if you're in the same league,
maybe
our good friend Steve, him and I will sit and just talk, whatever. But I'm thinking now about how now people are gonna have to listen to your, like, on the course. You're going to be coming up to your friends and be like, oh, man, my lineup this weekend, I couldn't believe I sat, Jake
Kyle
Hebenheimer.
Klein, and then he goes off like that. I had Kyle,
I just think of how annoying that we're going to create. We're going to create a whole new layer of annoying people on the course.
That's great.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, just like when everybody else comes up and tells you all about, their round and what happened on every single hole, and they proceed to walk through their entire round with you. Yeah, nobody likes that.
Nobody loves it.
Nobody. So... Go ahead.
No, I was.
I don't know if there's anything else too crazy other than also looking ahead a little bit. I know we were just talking about, what's coming up next. We have a couple of these Elite Series events and/or Silver Series event that you nor I are going to be part of.
Music City is the next one I touch.
Oh, okay. So that's even ahead of my schedule, so to speak. I will. As I'm going to pull up the schedule right now to make sure that I've got my ducks in a row here. Obviously, open at Austin this weekend. Texas States is next weekend, and
that's a silver event.
Yep, that's a silver event. And it looks like I don't think I'm sharing anything special in that Grant Zellner and Brian Earhart are going to be in the booth, and Nate Perkins is going to be on the course. And it looks like Grant Zellner will be in the booth, and I'm not sure who else is joining him on the FPO side, but that's going to be taking place for Texas States. Then March 31st through the 2nd weekend, on our broadcast schedule, it says no event. That's the 4th weekend, because now there's 4 of them. That's the 4th weekend of the Throwdown the Mountain. They break it up by rack, amateur, so on and so forth. That is the 4th and final weekend of Throwdown the Mountain. I will be covering that in a disc golf guy capacity. I know Paul Macbeth and a handful of others of high caliber player and notoriety will be attending. The Texas States weekend, when you nor I are involved, I will also be covering the Open at Tallahassee, which I know Macbeth and a few others are going to be competing as well on the MPO side, which I'll be covering. And then you said you're going to be part of Music City?
Yes, I believe I'm doing directing for Music City. I'm assuming MPO, and I believe on final day I'll be doing both rounds.
Okay. So it looks like that's Easter weekend, if my math is
That is Easter
right.
weekend. My wife is not happy with me.
And then the following weekend is the weekend that I'm running the Skyline Classic. That is the weekend of the Blue Ridge Championship. And then the weekend after that is the Champions Cup, where I'll be out in Bend along with Nate and Val. And, so that's going to be great. Anyway, just kind of thinking ahead, that's some of what you're going to see or hear from Johnny and I specifically. So if you need to update your calendars, update your schedules, that's where we'll be.
Ray asks on the board, have you filled out your bracket yet? Your March Madness bracket?
Yeah.
When was the last time you filled out a bracket? It's probably been 4 to 5 years.
I was going to
for
say
me.
probably 4 or 5 years ago. I might have just for giggles filled one out. Maybe.
There's always. I work in a very large company. I think we've got 450 employees throughout all the different offices, and someone usually opens one up, sends an email out to a select few of us, like, "Hey, you want to get in on this?" I don't. And granted, I know it doesn't. You don't have to pay attention to college basketball, but I never have. I've never done well on a bracket. I always just pick chalk, except for like one 5-12 upset, and I usually will pick like one or two more upsets randomly, literally random. It's like that one looks good. Let's pick them for an upset, and then make them lose the next round. And almost always my bracket it is almost always firsts or seconds in the Final Four, and I never win. I never do well. It doesn't really interest me that much as far as brackets go.
I could see how it would be a lot of fun if you were truly a diehard fan. Just
I
you
enjoy
and I never have been.
I enjoy watching the games if they're on. We have a TV in our office. We'll put it on for big sporting events. We had it on for World Cup. I'll sit and watch at lunch and kind of catch up. And sometimes if there's a local team playing, a Wisconsin team, I will watch at night. Like, oh, the Badger game is going to be on tonight at 6:00. I'll turn that on and watch. But other than that, I don't even watch the Final Four if there's a team that I don't care about. Same way with the football championships now. I don't watch any of that unless there's a Wisconsin team in it. I could care less if Clemson beats Alabama or whoever TCU is in. None of that matters to me.
Until there's a Johnny V Smashbox Bowl, I don't think you need to worry about it.
I ain't got that kind of dough, Terry Miller.
No? Okay.
No. If we're going to talk sports real quick, all the news, Terry, Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets.
What? Clearly I'm ignorant to this, so I will just ask from both perspectives, like, why? And what is there a sheer coincidence that that's the first place that Favre went when he left?
I made the joke.
Like, why?
All right, we're in the after show, so I feel I can say this. Jets, dick pic, Vikings. That's his trajectory right now, just like Favre.
Huh.
So I think he's going to announce it tomorrow on the Pat McAfee show is what kind of people are thinking. He announced that he's going to be on that show. The Jets already signed one of our wide receivers from last year, at Lazard, and apparently they're looking at trying to sign Cobb as well.
Mm-hmm.
So are you just trying to get the Packer offense from last year?
Yeah.
I don't understand. I think Cobb is past his prime. I don't know why you'd sign him other than he's friends with Rodgers and he's like safety blanket. But I get it. Him and the Packers have grown apart. They
Is he going to get paid like 50-some million, or is that only if he for the year? Wasn't he? I thought this was months ago.
I believe he's
going to get like 52 or 55 million.
He's going to make something silly, and hopefully we get something small in return for him at this point, a couple draft picks or whatnot. Jets have a good team, good defense. They performed admirably last year, somewhat. I don't know if they're a 40-year-old quarterback away from a Super Bowl. But you know what? Here's what I'll say. I was chatting back and forth with Jay Ray, friend of the show.
Mm-hmm.
He's a diehard Bears fan. And I said, I've had 30 years of great quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them in 30 years.
Yeah.
2 Super Bowl wins. Like 4 Super Bowl appearances, I think. 3 or 4. Honestly, I forget. If winter is coming for the Packers, where we're going to go into another 10 years of mediocrity, can I complain?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I want to see my team continue to do well. I love watching the Packers. I like football. We've had our sunshine. And maybe Jordan Love turns out to be really good. Maybe he stinks. Maybe we go through 5 quarterbacks in the next 7 years. Who knows? But I'm content. If Aaron wants to leave, let him leave. We'll move on.
Yeah, the fact, as you're saying, not just 30 years, but yeah, this goes back so long, and I know they always bring it up, especially against the Bears because of the rivalry, talking about like the 37 quarterbacks they've had as starters.
I think it's probably been more than that.
Yeah, in the time we've had two, and two of them are both Hall of Famers and have done what they've done. As you said, very blessed. It feels weird to even think about the idea of, like you said, we might see 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the next 5 years, like a lot of other teams have to struggle through. Or are we magically blessed with another franchise quarterback or something like that? Who knows? But you're right. I think about that all the time, the longevity. Now, it's had its ups and downs, especially more so, I think, even with Favre and his wild play. But, yeah, it's just think about your team. And this,
unless
I
you're
hold the Packers in no higher regard.
Unless you're a Patriots fan, almost every other team has had crazy amount of quarterbacks.
Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, I guess we shall see.
And we'll probably find out tomorrow.
How those how are the Milwaukee Bucks doing? Pretty good, probably?
Yes. They were playing kind of poor before the All-Star break. I think they'd lost like 6 or 7 in a row. Mm-hmm. And then after the All-Star break, I think they rattled off something like 14 wins in a row.
Yeah, that's good, I guess.
And then won, and then lost, obviously. And over the last week or two, I think they've won a few, lost a few. But in general,
all right,
we're a very solid team, and I think we have a chance at another championship this year. As if to get through the normal Celtics, probably got to get through the Warriors, and I forget who else. But
the Pistons, is they still a team?
They're not a team anymore, Terry.
Seriously?
I'm just kidding. They are.
I was gonna say. I mean, I know I'm removed, but I need Bill Lambier.
Where's Dennis Rodman?
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas, right? Doesn't his kid play or something? Isaiah Thomas's kid?
He might.
Isn't his name also Isaiah? Like,
it might be. I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know, Terry.
Come on.
That's probably true like 12 years ago, and you're just thinking of it now.
True. I'm sure the internet will update me. And yes, the Bucks in the middle of a nail biter right now, tied up 92-92 with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter as they're out there playing in Phoenix. All right, well, that's enough
that's
NBA
your sports
basketball.
talk.
Yeah, that's enough NBA basketball for me for about 6 months, or until the Bucks are in the final thingies. I don't have a lot of other things going on outside of this normal chaos and the post-production stuff that I'm currently releasing. I don't feel like I have a ton of other things going on right now. Does our chat board? Is there things you want to know? Oh, one question that's been now asked a couple of times that we haven't really addressed specifically is people asking about what we think of the buyout, the DD umbrella, the House of Disc thing. Somebody said is Dynamic now the largest disc manufacturer? No, I don't want to say quite the opposite, but right, they're one within the fold of the overall umbrella. And I don't think that necessarily, that doesn't put them ahead of anyone else necessarily.
Well, no, not DD. If you want to include all of House of Disc, which is basically Latitude, you've got their manufacturing facility, Castaplas, DD, and
Westside, yeah.
Westside as well. Rumors more are coming. I think House of Discs, whatever it is, might be the biggest.
I don't know how they couldn't be
manufacturer of discs. They have to be,
right? There's no way Discraft is making more than all of those other 5 brands combined,
or Innova,
and there's no way Innova is making more than all of those other. I'll just say it right now. That's not possible.
Probably not.
I've been in Latitude. I've taken pictures. I've had my disc stamped.
Yeah. So there's this huge manufacturer that is now probably the biggest conglomerate. Each has a small individual, smaller company, and they all have their own personalities. Mm-hmm. They're going to work together, as Jeremy Rusko has said, on how you balance each individual company and whatnot. That's a lot of power to have in our sport, I would say. And it makes me wonder what else is in store for. I mean, clearly the Latitude acquisition worked out well for them, or they probably wouldn't have moved on and done DD as well. So you have to wonder, where are they moving to next? What other ambitions do they have? Is there going to be a talk of maybe the tour,
a tour.
or a tour, or like, would it make sense for them to try to maybe work with the disc stream company who does the EPT? Maybe get their foot in there if they haven't already. Help kind of push them up, because we know the DGPT is moving over into Europe to cover the European tour, the ET. But the EPT has kind of been this little fledgling streaming company last year. I'm sure that they could use a good influx of money.
Yeah.
Why not? Why wouldn't you have a built-in company to do all of your advertising for your brands? I don't know. Or is that a big issue? Would that be a big conflict of interest? You know, there are no manufacturers that own any part of DGPT. Right?
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so either. I say that and look at you, I'm like,
R.I.P. Vibram.
Vibram. I don't think they ever owned any, but Steve worked with them or for them, however you want to look at it. I don't know what the future brings for House of Discs.
And it's funny, in everything you just said, Ray actually spits out the word I thought you were about to spit out and say monopoly. Is there a potential or a chance? And
No.
I don't know enough about the business law and whatnot.
Not as long as there's Discraft and Innova.
And there's
MVP.
109 other little companies that continue to make frisbees.
Well, the 109 little companies, if they're all getting their discs manufactured by House of Discs, then yes, then you probably have
sure,
something.
but yeah, that's what I'm assuming they're not.
But as long as you have like MVP, Innova, Discraft, and you've obviously we've got Legacy and Lone Star. I don't believe there's any sort of worry about a government monopoly. And Prodigy, of course.
Yeah.
But Europe is weird. Honestly.
Yeah, they give you like 12 weeks vacation. What do they think?
Just if you look at any of the way the tech industry is in Europe right now, they are working all sorts of ideas for monopolies. Like, is Google a monopoly? I mean, you're free to use DuckDuckGo. You're free to still use Yahoo. Is Android a monopoly? They have something like 80% of the market, but you come here and Terry, would your kids like an Android? No.
They will soon enough.
No, they want iPhones, right? Every kid wants an iPhone.
Yeah.
Androids are for old people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what a monopoly is anymore, apparently.
Speaking of games, as announced this weekend, we know that our friends over at Birdie have now started up Birdie Pro. I will say, when I went out to the Kickstarter yesterday or the day before, I feel like I saw they have already reached their goal.
They reached their goal. I think they reached their goal two or 3 days ago.
Okay, yeah, which is fine. You can still get in and get yourself a Birdie Pro game, but they are out there on Kickstarter. You heard us talking about it this weekend. I was going to see if I could pull it up and take another look at it, talking about the expansion packs and all the other things that go along with it. But if you want to go out there, it's a way to get your game a little bit cheaper than if you just wait until it shows up for market. So we'll see. I've never enjoyed Apple products. Yeah, we could have that conversation.
Let's start Apple Android fight here, Terry.
Yeah.
You got yourself an Android. I got myself an Apple. Let's fight. No, I don't care either way. Whatever you want.
Tim also said MVP is making Mint and ThoughtSpace Athletics. This is a bigger overarching question or thought, which is when there's the influx of Simon Lizotte frisbees that need to be made, and when there's the influx of James Conrad holy shot discs, does that ever threaten the production for some of the companies they make frisbees for? And I put that out there because my spidey senses feel like that was one of the big challenges that Discmania found. As they grew, as they got larger, as they wanted to ramp up production schedules and just ramp up their stock and have more stock available, Innova, who was molding their stuff, was like, "Yeah, we'll get to you. We'll get to you when we can, or you're on the calendar. Sorry, right now we're running 30,000 Sexton Firebirds, so you're behind that line." I know they have tons of mold machines, but the point is, if you're ever beholden to another manufacturer, clearly you have stuff in contracts. Clearly you have deadlines and forecasts and projections and other BS I learned about in in some college class. You have all of those things, but what happens when there's an anomaly? What happens when there's the holy shot or something like that, and then all of a sudden the disc production has to go through the roof for one particular company, or even if your ThoughtSpace or your ThoughtSpace, and one of their players who is exclusively a ThoughtSpace player wins the world championships, and you need 50,000 ThoughtSpace discs. It does. Yeah, what is that relationship like? And I'm just throwing it out there. I have no idea. But that is obviously a concern. If somebody else is molding your Frisbees, you're somewhat beholden to them.
I would hope that someone like a ThoughtSpace or Mint would have something, a stipulation in whatever contract they have to agree that has something like that. In the event of a large win, a major win, we have the right to a machine. Just because here's what I almost guarantee. MVP is probably sitting around come close to Worlds with, if they're smart, they're looking at their machines and going, maybe let's not schedule the machines after Worlds just in case. Let's go easy on them because you never know when you're going to have the holy shot. You don't know when Simon Lizotte is going to win Worlds, because you could just, obviously, I'm sure everything is flexible, but you would hope that they would have something like that in a stipulation that says, oh, if Thomas Gilbert from ThoughtSpace wins Worlds, you're right, we want 50,000 discs made in the next month or 2 months or whatever that timetable is. And hopefully they can accommodate that.
Yeah, and again, we clearly have no behind the scenes. Maybe they have that all documented, and there's machines that are committed no matter what demand is, and none of that's ever an issue. But I believe in years past, that certainly could be a consideration, and that's true of any manufacturer that goes elsewhere to have their plastics made or their Frisbees made.
It's a tough business.
Yes, and a quick update. Excuse me.
Robert Koike says, I'd like people to stop using the term manufacturer for companies that have never made anything. Yes, there is but
is that a nitpicky technicality?
It is. It is.
I mean, let's be real. So clearly, then, you're saying Dynamics not a manufacturer?
That's what people say. They are a sales and marketing company.
But what? So they don't make the
But they may.
Then in theory, who makes baskets?
Agreed. They are a manufacturer of baskets because I believe they have their own custom baskets that they have created, and
but they don't make them.
They don't make them.
So they're not.
But that's a lot of places. I'm sure there are a lot of manufacturing places, not just discs.
Very few people manufacture bags. Like most of them are made overseas, and a few of them are made here. A few companies most of them are even made overseas, but very few companies are making them here. We'll say in-house. Most of those are going to be made elsewhere. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but all right. John asks, Terry, do you have any insight as to what Legacy plans to do with sponsored players? I love their discs and would love to see them push for more touring pros. What I can, a little bit of insight I could provide on that is, I can't imagine being the size of Legacy, who has this.
A single injection molding?
No, they have two.
They have two?
I believe two, and then capabilities to get more. But I can't imagine, they're not the scale that you find some of these other manufacturers at. And therefore, even though they have a wide assortment of discs, every disc you probably really need, I'm not even sure how many molds they're up to, 20 or 30 if I had to guess. So they have plenty of discs for your bag. I don't know if they're moving enough plastic overall to then pay somebody, I'm not going to call it an absurd salary, but our new rate of sponsored player. When you're talking about somebody that might be 10-20 and might demand $3,000 a month. I'm just making up numbers here. Who do you take that chance on? And can you genuinely afford? And is that part of your business model? I think that really becomes part of the question too. We clearly see some companies look at call it a long play or otherwise. Look at what MVP did. They did not go out and get household names. They, of course, had established players. Matt Dollar comes to mind. Elaine King comes to mind. But then it wasn't until much later did they also go out and get world champ Sarah Hokom. And then, of course, picking up Conrad, which I think shook quite a few people. And then, obviously, this blockbuster in Simon Lizotte. So maybe it's just a longer play. Maybe there's a certain point in which they say, okay, now we're ready to go out and make that push. Legacy's had some incredible players. I worry that they've been seen or used as a stepping block to somebody that's then willing to pay more. And if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. If somebody says, hey, I need X, and they're just like, we can't give you that much.
The only way you, as Legacy, and it's very tough, make that work is if you do hit on the perfect player.
Yeah.
You hit on a Kyle Klein, and he goes out and wins a major, or a world specifically, hopefully, where then you can turn around and hopefully print a bunch of Kyle Klein stuff, sell it, make a bunch of money, and then hopefully give that back to Kyle. We'll just say Kyle as an example.
And then he stays with you.
And then he stays with you because someone else doesn't offer him an absorbent amount.
Much.
Yeah, it's tough for a small company. It's
Yeah.
tough to grow when there's big companies. So someone like Lone Star, who has an established other company that they can really pull from the coffers of. So they have this whole plastics manufacturing and plastics injection molding. Sorry, I want to call them manufacturers if they're not. Sorry. This whole other company that works with oil fields and this and that. And guess what? I'm not saying that $100,000 isn't a lot of money, but we're going to throw $100,000 at these two players. We'll bring them in.
It doesn't hurt their bottom line like it might a fledgling company.
Exactly.
That doesn't have other money to rely on or possibly backing them. So, Tim, I'm like the rest of you. I love me some Mad Dog. I don't know if I can get on board with saying that was their biggest signing. Something tells me Simon Lizotte might outshine that, but I guess it's all relative or subjective.
Ray asked me, how was my watch-along party for the FPO final round?
You're just void of friends, I hear.
I don't have a lot of friends, Terry. At my age, I don't need friends.
That's true. You've got yourself.
I've got myself. It was fun. For those of you that don't know, I did a watch-along party here on Smashbox's page where I just put up the scoreboard. I put up the whole graphic, which most of the time was wrong because I'd forget to change it. So players,
like a high level production.
It was super high level. Well, I was chatting with the people, Terry, and I'd look over and be like, oh, they're not on hole
not that hard
13 anymore. Now they're on 15. So I just go click, click. So I always had the scores up. I always had the whole graphic up, and I just had a small.
Wait, does that
video
mean
of me.
people were muting me?
Of course not, Terry. Maybe
I will pipe into the YouTube channel so that no matter what, you're getting my live audio as well. You cannot escape.
I wanted to bring in your live audio. The Pro Tour said, absolutely not. You're too valuable to them.
They want to share it.
They-
That makes more sense.
They couldn't share it even with your own channel, Terry.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see them saying that.
So I usually went on about halfway through a round. We just had some people jump in and answered questions and watched together, talked about whatever we wanted to talk about. It was, there was maybe, I would say, a couple dozen people at any given time. I think I looked in one of the videos had like 400 total views, and then I went and you cannot find them. I hid them on the page because nobody really needs to see those again in the future. They're not of any use to go back and watch. But it's something I would like to do a little bit more often on days when I'm not doing production or I'm not helping out of any sort, and I'm just kind of sitting around if I don't have anything. Now, granted, it's easy because the weather's kind of mediocre here in Wisconsin. I'm not playing tournaments right now, but I do plan on playing more events, and
Skyline Classic, bro. So get signed up.
Just
tell me what date you would like the registration to open, and I'll make it happen.
Well, when I'm ready to register, you can open it. So I'll let you know when that is.
I'll just be sitting at home.
Just waiting
for
Terry.
the call. And
just give me your
open
login.
it.
Give me your login. I'll open it when it needs to be opened and move from there.
Yeah.
So a follow-up, though. I know we talked a little bit last week about registration. MPO.
Yes, that is.
MP40 and
bring that back.
MA40.
Last week, The short version was you were signed up for 2 tournaments or attempting to sign up for 2 tournaments, both in MA40. One allowed you to, and the other didn't due to rating. And what ended up being the ultimate solution here?
One tournament was in the wrong.
Logically, that would have to be the case.
And it was the one that let me sign up in MA40.
Ah.
Currently, because I'm still registered as a pro with the PDGA, there is a different restriction for me.
Correct.
And it used to be 935. Well, this year it was actually lowered to 920. And so the Standing Rocks, apparently when you register, there's a little button that asks you to check against the PDGA
database. Yep.
Database. He had neglected to click that. So I reached out to him. And I said, hey, it looks like this is wrong. He's like, no, this is good. This is good. Don't worry about it. And I was like, I don't think it is. So, and then he's like, well, you can just, register for MP40 because there was still like 1 or 2 spots available in MP40. I said, yes, just move me over to MP40. I'm not, I don't care either way as far as what I play. And it actually freed up a spot in MA40, which was full, and there was like 6 or 7 people on the waiting list for that. So somebody got in due to my unfortunate. So I hope, and I mentioned it to somebody else, I think our state coordinator, and said, you might want to check, just verify that the players who are registered in MA40 qualify for MA40. And it's probably all of 10 to 12 people that are above 920 that are registered as pro and have maybe taken cash in the past. Actually, I don't think you have to have taken cash if you register for pro.
Correct.
It doesn't matter, even if you haven't cashed. Now, the other option for me would have been to talk to the PDGA and made a request to move back down to amateur, to change my
reclassified
designation. I could do that because the odds of me cashing, now granted I could cash an MP40, you don't know, depending on how big the field is and how well I'm playing, how much I'm practiced up. It's not likely right now, but we'll see. You never know.
Yeah.
Standing Rocks is, of the 2 that I registered for, Zobel and Standing Rocks is the one where I would feel the most comfortable, where I think I could cash an MP40. It's a very tight wooded course, one I'm very familiar with, and Zobel is a lot tougher to, I think, score against the field because it's a little bit more open. So I think if I have a chance, it's at Standing Rocks, but whatever. Either way, I could petition the PDGA to move to amateur. I chose not to. I don't care what I'm designated as. I'm going to stay as professional and go from there.
Speaking of the field, I'm literally looking at Google Maps and getting myself a little dizzy while I'm doing it, so I'm not doing a very good job of it. We had a conversation about what that effective distance was for Jared Stoll. And
I guess 330 straight on.
I think more than that. But I was going to see, I know there's some neat features within Google Maps that could actually do it. I said if you, depending on how they measured the hole, I want to say the hole is listed at 6.
You can't find it on Google Maps?
I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm kind of getting frustrated with it. So what I was saying, though, is the hole itself was listed at 6.
Ryan Pilcher says 400 feet per Google Maps.
Okay, perfect. Because you know what I did? Little Pythagorean theorem.
A squared plus B squared
equals C squared. And sure enough, Nate and Val thought I was crazy, thought I was making shit up. I said, no, I think if they measured it, and it's not a perfect right angle, clearly, but if they
doesn't matter.
Does it matter if it's a right angle or not?
I don't
remember. It doesn't matter. Either way, if you measured it, I want to say it was roughly, was the hole, I think 600
Yeah, no,
feet.
You're right. It has to be right angle.
Yeah. So I think the hole is roughly, whatever the number was. I said if it's roughly 300 feet to the edge and then roughly 300 feet down, that's A squared plus B squared equals your C squared. I did the math on my little phone, got it all, said 429. So the fact that Ryan, thank you, that if you went out, because I'm sure it was talked about or asked, and that's what I was going to do a moment ago here on Google Maps with whatever tool they have, the fact that you came up with 400 and I said 429 makes me feel pretty damn good. And again, I understand that I was just completely estimating that it's 300 to one of the corners and then 300
Yeah,
straight
I don't
down.
think it's 300 straight down. I think you're wrong off there.
You think it's a little more
less
than 300? Oh.
I think it's less than 300. I think about Mondahano's shot.
Uh-huh.
And I believe it's 300 probably where she was, maybe a touch more. But the shot that she threw down there, I don't believe was 300 feet. I think you're looking
downhill,
more like,
flex shot.
I think it's more like, it feels more like 260,
Well, okay, here we are. Here
270.
we are on Google Maps. I could.
Yeah, because if
probably-
that's 300, that's clearly not 300. That's much shorter.
Yeah, roughly. I know.
We're using our fingers on Google Maps.
Yeah,
There's literally
that's
a
how the
feature
smart
where we
people
could
do it.
drop a pin.
That's
and,
how the smart people do it. Anyway, my point was that I estimated, and they just thought it was crazy. Like I even spit that out. Clearly, I only remember so much math from 8th or 9th
Are
grade.
you smarter than a 5th grader?
Yeah, exactly. But if I told them 429, which is the number I think I came up with, I'm really glad to hear that Ryan said he figured it out to be about 400. Yeah, because you could go from this T.
Yep, you can right click on that
Oh, you can just right click. I was
Right.
thinking there was a tool.
and just like drop a pin or
Or
measure distance. Sorry.
measure distance. Okay, and just drag probably from here.
Click on it. Yep. And now click on the next spot you want to go. I think you literally just
tough.
click. There you go. Now move your map there. Oh, you put it right on it practically.
Yeah, good.
Right.
I think that says 405. Oh, it says right there as well. Sorry. Yeah, 405, give or take a few feet. So yeah, I'm pretty damn happy with that.
Now take that.
Now that's assuming.
Now take that edge and drag it over. No, just the actual end point. Yep, and drag it to where the drop zone is,
Well, drop zone,
or
or just where you might land?
about
'Cause,
where
I
you would
mean,
land.
A good shot.
See,
is,
that's not quite a straight 90 degree. That's more of an
Correct.
acute angle, which is why the distance wouldn't be a squared b squared.
yeah,
which is-
yeah. I didn't get my damn protractor.
Why
out.
not?
I was just trying to give an estimation, and I'm happy that my estimation was not far off. So nice throw, Jared Stoll. Would have been cool if you made it. I have filmed Jared at a number of Florida events. He hails out of Michigan. Super great guy. Plays for Westside. I can't say I'm surprised to have seen him successfully complete it. Not a shot I'd be going after, clearly, or most humans wouldn't. But nonetheless, pretty cool.
Ray says this is going to be riveting audio.
Yeah, exactly. As we're staring at Google Maps, and what did somebody say? Bust out the James protractor. Hey, no, James no. Okay.
I don't think so, Terry Miller. But what I do think is that we're going to give something away at patreon.com/SmashboxTV. If you want to be eligible for our weekly giveaway, there are 2 ways that you can be eligible. One, the easy way. Go to patreon.com/SmashboxTV and sign up for as little as $1 a month. You can be eligible for our giveaway. And we're going to give something. The other way is a little bit more difficult. You need to go to your corner store, buy Terry a malt.
Mm-hmm. And a lottery ticket.
And a lottery
some
ticket.
Beef jerky.
And no, you don't need beef jerky. You got the good stuff. You got
That's
the double
true.
G
I do
stuff.
have double G.
Send Terry the malt in a box.
Mm-hmm. Malt in a box.
Malt in a box. That's your new business. Or you can go to smashbox.tv/weekly giveaways, and that will give you a form that you can enter in. You have to do it weekly because we only take 1 week's worth of forms. There were 5 or 6 people that did that this week. That is the other way to do it, and that doesn't cost you anything.
Nope.
But you
You
just
don't
have to
even have to
remember to
support
do
us.
it every single week. And what a pain. Isn't your time worth more than $1? Come on. $1.
I don't know.
Give me $1.
Dollar holla. So, yeah. Thank you. You guys can jump on that. We appreciate you guys for doing so.
John Madelone says, "Oh, did you make one with the Vitamix?" I did. I made Terry a malt. I told him I was going to. It was the only time I do this.
Not Vitamix. Malted malt mix.
No. Vitamix is the name of the blender.
Oh, okay. I was going to say. What's Vitamix? Did you put vitamins in my
No,
goddamn
no.
malt? Don't you dare do that.
Don't you dare make my malt healthy.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah, I mixed it up. I didn't put malt powder in there. I put protein powder in. It was really awkward.
So I'm going to be ripped tomorrow when I wake up.
Yes, the
Figures.
chocolate protein powder.
Yep,
You're going to
that
be shredded.
figures.
You know,
That figures.
I mean, Ezra's going to be jealous.
Yeah.
I
Understandable.
That's all I have to say.
Yes, and as somebody else pointed out on the board, happy Pi Day if you're into that 3.14 thing. Happy Pi Day to them.
Patreon.com/SmashboxTV. We have 153 people eligible for our giveaway this week, Terry. Terry Miller, what number are we going to generate? First, second, third. I sorted them by email address this week.
Let's go with, that was the second stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series in 2023's calendar year. So we'll go with 2.
Okay, Terry, way to justify that one. All right, our first number is 116. You going to go higher or lower, Terry?
I'm going to go crazy and say it's going to be higher, although the numbers are against me.
Numbers
I'm
are
calling
against
higher.
you. All right, the next number is
Oh,
102.
You did it wrong.
102. I hit the generate button wrong, apparently, says
Yep.
Terry.
You shouldn't have done it that way.
Should not have done it that way. So we're going to go down to I need to scroll up.
Speaking of
Nathaniel Johnson.
Nathaniel,
Did he just win or no?
I don't
think so. Okay, good.
Thank you, Nathaniel.
Thank you very, very much, Nathaniel.
We appreciate it. We'll reach out and double check that we have your correct address. See that you signed up not too long ago, so we very much appreciate all the support. And
He's been around for a hot minute. 2021.
Okay, a couple years. Well, we appreciate it. That just paid off.
Just paid off, buddy.
I love it. Speaking of payoffs, should I care that I'm 9,270 subs short of 100,000 on my channel?
Nope.
My kids care.
Great. 10,000's a pretty big jump. Like almost a 10% jump, basically.
Yeah, 10%. You're right. When it goes
Well,
from 90 to 100.
10% of 90 is 9, so that would put you at 99,000, Terry.
Yep.
That's why I hesitated as far as, because I was like, is he going to, I literally thought in my head.
10,000 puts me over.
I know. I literally thought, is he going to be a dick if I say 9,000 and it's not really 10%,
No,
if
I
it's
wouldn't
really
have.
like 12%? Because there's a 10% chance you'd be a dick.
It's a 100% chance I will be, just not over that. I pick and choose.
That's why I hesitated, because I literally did the right math in my head and didn't want to round.
No, I just pick and choose when I'm going to be. Time to promote my channel. Yeah, maybe. You guys, if you're here.
And you're not subbed.
Wow. It would be crazy. It'd be awesome to see a huge influx. But no, yes, of course. The Disc Golf Guy is my channel. I think I was just on some back page of it the other day. Not the back page, but and it said I have like 1,332 videos that have been on my channel spanning the last 13 years. Some crazy, absurd number like that. So, yes, there'll have to be something special. Someone asked, do you get a YouTube play button at 100K? You do. And I've never really cared about it much until I actually started getting closer. And that's nothing more than some silly cred that I have to put up in the background of all my office
with some
videos.
RGB around it or something.
Yeah, something. No. But yes, it does show a little bit of, we'll say, I don't know, long efforts and determination. So either way, when it happens, it happens. You get nothing else special. I've said this before, and I haven't looked into it. I feel like, because I don't know how many there are, I guess I could Google it. I feel like a really cool, useful thing that when you get to 100,000 would be if they gave you like YouTube TV or YouTube, whatever it is, something free, like a YouTube service that's pretty easy to just dish out to you. Like, I think that'd be kind of a cool kickback. But other than that, no. I think I get a silver play button. That's it. And then as I was telling my daughters, I wonder at a certain point when you're getting close, do they go through and systematically, like, triple check all the things that might be bots or fake accounts or whatever? Like, am I going to get to 98,000 and then dip back down to like 93,000 because they're just simply doing housekeeping for this exact reason? I don't know. I don't really care, but now that it's creeping up, it's kind of cool. With covering two events being Throwdown the Mountain and Tallahassee, and Macbeth playing in those, and likely on my channel,
I could see a 3,000 person jump.
I wouldn't be surprised to get a little bit of a bump up for that, but we'll see how it works out. Yeah, Tim, go out and create 9,000 accounts. I mean, only like,
I mean, I could literally probably find a way to buy
auto-generate,
buy accounts for you. It'd probably cost me like $12, and you'd be at 100,000.
Yeah, I ended up covering it with a bunch of play buttons. That's a good call. Terry, when you were starting your coverage for, say, like the memorial, make sure you tell people to like and subscribe and hit the bell. I know it's stupid. We all hear it, but it works. I do that. My line is do all the YouTube things. Like, share, subscribe. Yes, I always tell people pretty much every single video. So, all right, Johnny, I think we can close it out. Congratulations. Was it Nathaniel you said? That was our winner here tonight. Thank you for your support. We very much appreciate it. Looking forward. It'll be kind of odd these next few weeks with you and I not involved with a few of the events, but we'll still bring you some of our insights and action as we're doing so.
You have plans this weekend or no?
Oh, I got to do. Tell you about it later.
Okay. Secret.
When we stop at the museum, I've said this before, if I could afford a building or if somebody else would make the building where it would safely store truly archive worth pieces or artifacts, I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't know if that's a dream, but it would be kind of cool to get some of the stuff out that truly could be on display. I'm not just talking Frisbees either, like some of the other random odds and ends. I think that could be kind of cool. We'll see. Used to the hour-long after shows. I know this one's a little on the short side. We're going to call it I'm on the short side. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. Like, share, and subscribe to both Smashbox TV. Hit the little bell thingy. Also do it over on the Disc Golf Guy channel. We appreciate you.
The new Skip Ace YouTube channel.
And the new Skip Ace YouTube channel.
I think I've got 40 subscribers right now.
I started there once too. We all do.
The Patreon, or I'm sorry, not the Patreon. The podcasts are actually automatically getting filtered there.
I like it. Get after it, people. Like, share, subscribe. We love you. For Johnny, I'm Terry. 446 after show. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.